Hello there, and welcome to this quiet corner of the Sleepy Facts channel, where the night moves gently and the world softens around the edges. Tonight, we drift into the calm and ancient realm of plants and trees, the silent architects of our landscapes and the quiet guardians of our breath. They stand across mountains, deserts, forests, and fields, living at a pace far slower than our hurried lives, speaking in rhythms we rarely notice, yet always depend upon. Their stories are patient ones, written not in words but in rings, roots, and the tender green geometry of leaves. As you listen, you may feel your mind loosening like the petals of a flower at dawn, opening to a softer kind of understanding. One carried not by urgency, but by stillness. Plants have been on this planet far longer than we have. They grew in ancient seas before animals even learned to breathe air, capturing sunlight in delicate molecular traps that powered the earliest ecosystems. Every blade of grass, every towering cedar, every quiet fern on the forest floor is part of that lineage, an unbroken thread of life, stretching back over 1 billion years. When you look at a tree, you're not just seeing a plant. You're seeing a story of survival, written through droughts and storms, through shifting climates and wandering continents. Each trunk and root is a memory of the earth itself, shaped in silence and grown with patience. As night gathers, there is a kind of secret world that awakens within the leaves. Though they stand still to us, plants are never truly motionless. They move in slow arcs, turning their faces toward the light, adjusting their stems in response to gravity, and opening or closing tiny pores that breathe in rhythm with the day. Some respond to the faintest vibrations. Some listen for the sound of a bee's wingbeat. Others fold their leaves at dusk as if preparing for sleep. A forest, though quiet, is never empty of thought or motion. It is a place where every trunk, branch, and tendril participates in an unseen conversation, one that flows through soil, air, and light. Beneath the ground, the roots of trees reach out like fingers, touching, sensing, exploring the soil with extraordinary sensitivity. In the darkness below, fungal threads weave their way among the roots, forming vast networks that connect one tree to another. Through these hidden channels, nutrients flow, warnings travel, and resources are shared. A tree in shade may receive sugars from one in sunlight. A sapling may be nurtured by its elders. When danger appears, an insect, a drought, a storm, the signal moves through the soil like a whisper, preparing the forest for what lies ahead. It is a society built not on sound, but on chemistry. Not on speed, but on connection. In the presence of plants, time seems to slow. There is no rush in the growth of a leaf or the unfolding of a bud. Even the towering redwoods, some older than the pyramids, rise only a small fraction of an inch each year. Yet their slowness is not weakness, it is endurance. It is resilience, written in cellulose and sunlight. The world around them may change, but their quiet rhythm remains. A rhythm that once guided seasons, migrations, ancient human cultures, and the very breath we take now. To sit beneath a tree is to be held in that rhythm, cradled in the stillness of something that has watched centuries pass without haste or worry. If you listen carefully, you can almost imagine the way plants feel the world. Their leaves sense the warmth of sunrise. Their roots detect the gentle pull of gravity, always guiding them downward no matter how the seed falls. They recognize the chemical signatures of neighboring plants, distinguishing friend from stranger. Some plants can even remember brief experiences, adjusting their behavior after a touch or a change in light. These memories do not exist as ours do. They are stored in the dance of hormones, ions, and proteins, yet they shape the plant's decisions all the same. In this way, the plant world holds its own quiet intelligence, a form of awareness rooted not in nerve cells, but in thousands of slow, precise reactions that unfold with steady grace. And while trees appear solitary, they shape entire landscapes through the air they release. Every day, forests send rivers of water vapor skyward, building clouds above them, guiding rainfall across continents, and cooling the surrounding air. A single tree can raise hundreds of liters of water from the ground to the sky in a day, lifting it through narrow vessels no wider than a thread of hair. It is a movement so delicate and so powerful that it shapes the weather itself. Across the world, forests breathe water into the atmosphere, stitching together the climate patterns that sustain life. They do this without sound, without rush, simply by being what they are. Vast towers of living wood, connecting earth and sky. Even the smallest plant offers something profound. Moss cushions the edges of stones, holding moisture like a soft green sponge. Tiny alpine flowers bloom on cold mountainsides, where the air is thin and the wind unkind. Desert succulents store water in thick leaves, turning harsh heat into sustenance. Every plant, no matter how small or overlooked, participates in the planet's slow and beautiful choreography, capturing sunlight, shaping soil, feeding insects, and cooling the air. They do these things without recognition, without intention, simply because life moves through them in quiet, persistent miracles. Tonight, as you drift into rest, let the stories of these gentle beings ease your mind. Let the memory of forests whisper through you like a breeze through branches. Feel the slow certainty of growth, the steady rhythm of seasons, the calm resilience of roots reaching through dark soil. In this soft space, you are connected to the same world that trees have stood in for millions of years. Their patience can become your patience. Their stillness can become your stillness. Their quiet presence can be the lullaby that carries you into sleep. So settle in, breathe deeply, and allow the gentle wisdom of plants and trees to cradle your thoughts. The night is calm, the world is soft, and the ancient green life around you is ready to guide you toward rest, one slow breath at a time, one the quiet intelligence of plants. When we think of intelligence, we often picture quick thoughts, rapid reactions, and decisions made in an instant. We imagine the bright spark of a human idea or the swift instinct of an animal finding its way through the world. But plants teach us another kind of intelligence, one that unfolds not in moments, but in seasons. It is a wisdom that moves slowly but reaches deeply, shaped by the gentle conversation between sunlight, soil, water, and time. As you settle in and allow your breath to soften, imagine the calm presence of a forest, where every leaf and root participates in a silent dance of awareness. Plants may not have nerves or brains, but they perceive their world with exquisite sensitivity, responding in ways that reveal a deeper, quieter kind of knowing. This intelligence begins with light, the oldest and most essential teacher plants have ever known. From the moment a seedling pierces the soil, it begins searching for brightness, stretching toward it with delicate certainty. Inside each slender stem, tiny pigments sense the direction of the sun, guiding growth like an inner compass. Even when the wind bends, a young plant or shadows move across its path. It adjusts its posture with patience, tilting and turning until the light returns to its leaves. To us, this motion is imperceptible, unfolding too slowly for our hurried eyes to follow. Yet if you could watch a plant over hours instead of seconds, you would see it move with purpose, almost as if it were breathing in long, gentle cycles. Plants also feel the pull of gravity, a constant whisper from the center of the earth. Their roots grow downward with steady confidence. Even when a seed accidentally lands sideways, or upside down. Special cells in the root tips sense gravity's direction and send signals through the tissue, guiding the plant toward water and stability deep underground. This sensitivity ensures that even the smallest sprout finds its footing. It is a kind of orientation that needs no map, no sound, no memory, only the quiet dialogue between the plant and the world it lives in. In this way, gravity becomes a silent caretaker, gently guiding each root as it seeks a place to anchor itself in the darkness below. But plants do more than sense light and gravity. They perceive touch too, with a sensitivity so fine that a single brushing of a finger can alter their behavior. There are species whose leaves fold inward when disturbed, protecting themselves like shy animals withdrawing from contact. Others grow sturdier stems, when touched often, strengthening their structure as if preparing for the challenges of wind and weather. Even vines climbing upward can recognize the texture of surfaces, distinguishing between rough bark and smooth metal, choosing the path that promises the best support. This subtle awareness of touch reveals a world where plants navigate their surroundings with a sensitivity we rarely notice, a world where the shape of growth is not random but guided by experience. Some plants go even further, listening to the vibrations that ripple through their environment. They sense the buzz of pollinators and the footsteps of small insects. Experiments have shown that certain flowers open more readily when they detect the frequency of a bee's wing beat, almost as if they recognize the visitor who brings them life. Others respond defensively to the vibrations of caterpillars chewing nearby, preparing their tissues to taste bitter or toughen before the threat arrives. In this way, sound becomes another kind of language, one that flows through stems and leaves, guiding the plant's quiet decisions. Though we cannot hear what they hear, we can sense the elegance of their responses, like soft ripples moving gently across the surface of a pond. Plants also perceive chemical signals, both within themselves and from the world around them. When a leaf is damaged, a cascade of internal messages spreads through the plant, instructing distant tissues to prepare for stress. This communication happens without nerves, carried instead by molecules moving through fluid channels that wind from root to tip. It is a system as complex as the circulatory networks of animals, yet it operates in silence, carried by slow pulses of chemistry rather than electrical sparks. In dense forests and meadows, these signals extend outward into the air. A plant under attack may release scents that warn its neighbors, allowing them to strengthen their defenses before danger arrives. These airborne messages drift like invisible threads through the wind, weaving connections between plants even when they stand several feet apart. The quiet intelligence of plants extends into the soil, where roots search for water with a sensitivity that borders on instinct. They can detect moisture gradients and grow toward patches of damp earth with surprising precision. When two plants find themselves close to one another, their roots sometimes avoid competing by adjusting their growth patterns, spreading out in different directions, as if negotiating boundaries unseen. In families of certain species, siblings recognize one another underground, growing cooperatively by sharing resources or avoiding competition. This recognition happens not through sight or sound, but through chemical whispers exchanged beneath the surface, hints of identity carried in the soil. It is a kind of social behavior hidden in the shadows, a reminder that cooperation is not limited to animals, humans. Some plants even exhibit a form of memory, storing brief traces of past experiences that help them navigate the future. When touched repeatedly, a plant may alter its response, no longer reacting as strongly because it has learned that the touch is harmless. Others remember the intensity of recent sunlight and adjust their internal clocks accordingly, aligning their rhythms with the changing seasons. These memories do not live in a brain, but in shifts of hormones, proteins, and ions, forming a mosaic of responses that shape the plant's behavior over time. The result is a life that adapts, remembers, and responds in ways that echo the earliest forms of intelligence on our planet. When you look at a forest, it is easy to imagine a landscape frozen in place. But if you could speed up time, you would see a world constantly adjusting, reaching, listening, and responding. Leaves would tilt and twirl, tracking the sun. Vines would climb and wrap. Roots would weave and wander underground. Flowers would open and close like slow, gentle breaths. Every plant would appear awake, perceiving its world with unhurried grace. In this accelerated vision, the forest becomes a living symphony, shaped not by noise, but by countless small decisions unfolding over hours and days. The intelligence of plants is patient. It is quiet. It asks for nothing and changes everything. It shapes the air we breathe, the colors of our landscapes, the food we eat, and the ecosystems that cradle life on Earth. Yet it does so without hurry and without struggle, moving through the world with a calm that invites us to slow down as well. As you drift further into rest, let the steady confidence of the plant world soothe you. Their intelligence is not the sharp spark of thought, but the gentle glow of presence. A slow unfolding, a steady rhythm, a reminder that awareness does not always need speed or sound. Sometimes it grows quietly, leaf by leaf, in the soft green heart of the world. Two trees communicate beneath the soil, beneath the surface of every forest, hidden from the light of day and the eyes of those who walk above. There exists a world as intricate and alive as the branches that sway in the wind. It is a world of roots and threads, of quiet exchanges and shared survival. While the forest floor may appear still, the soil beneath it is alive, with motion, chemistry, and connection. This is where trees communicate, not with sound or sight, but with signals carried through earth and fungi. Their interactions unfold slowly, patiently, in rhythms measured in seasons instead of seconds. And as you settle deeper into this story, let your breathing soften, imagining the gentle stillness of the underground world, where roots stretch like fingers searching for the familiar warmth of community. Every tree begins its life with a single, uncertain root. The seed cracks open in darkness, guided downward by the whisper of gravity, and upward by the distant memory of light. As the root pushes into the soil, it does more than search for water and minerals. It begins listening. The earth is full of quiet clues, the faint presence of moisture, the chemical traces of other plants, the subtle structures created by fungi weaving their way through the darkness. The young root senses these hints and adjusts its path, threading itself into the unseen tapestry of the forest. What seems like instinct is actually negotiation, a silent conversation between tree and soil that continues throughout its life. The most extraordinary part of this underground world is the mycorrhizal network, a vast web of fungal threads so fine that millions could lie across your fingertip. These filaments, called hyphae, spread out through the soil like delicate lines of lace. When they encounter a tree root, they wrap around it or even slip inside its cells, forming partnerships older than human memory. In exchange for sugars produced by the tree's leaves, the fungi provide crucial nutrients gathered from distant pockets of soil. But this relationship is more than a trade. It is a bridge, a living connection that links tree to tree, plant to plant, root to root. Through these fungal pathways, forests share information in a way that almost resembles thought. If you could shrink down to the size of a grain of sand and stand within this hidden network, you would see these threads glowing faintly with possibility. Some run straight, others fork and curve, and still others spiral around roots like strands of hair caught in water. Between them, Signals travel chemical messages that carry warnings, nutrients, and even care. A tree under attack by insects may release distress compounds into its roots, and the fungi carry these signals onward, alerting neighboring trees to strengthen their leaves or change their chemistry. In this way, danger becomes a shared concern, not a solitary one. Forests are not collections of isolated individuals, but communities that watch out for one another through the soil's quiet corridors. This communication is slow, unfolding over minutes or hours. But in the life of a tree, such timing is swift. When drought threatens, older trees with deep established roots sometimes send extra carbon to the younger ones struggling nearby. They do this not through intention as we understand it, but through the natural flow of resources across the fungal web. The network redistributes sugars, much like the circulatory system of an animal, sending nourishment to where it is most needed. The elders of the forest, those wide-trunked giants who have stood through centuries of storms, often act as hubs in this network. Their roots form central anchors, and the fungi radiate outward from them like spokes from a wheel. The younger trees, still finding their place in the soil, benefit from this stability. The forest becomes not just a group of trees, but a family with shared resilience. One of the most remarkable aspects of this network is its subtle discrimination. A tree can recognize its own kin underground. Through chemical signatures carried along the roots, saplings can determine whether a neighbor is a sibling, a stranger, or an entirely different species. When siblings stand near one another, they may compete less fiercely, allowing their roots to intertwine more gently. They exchange resources with less hesitation, almost as if remembering the closeness of seeds once nestled together in the same patch of soil. Strangers may be treated with a more cautious balance, still connected, still part of the network, but not receiving the same generosity. This recognition is not consciousness in the way we think of it, but it is a form of awareness, born from countless generations of evolution, etched into the chemistry of roots. As roots explore the soil, they avoid obstacles with astonishing precision. They can detect stones long before reaching them, redirecting their growth to flow around the barrier, like water curving around a pebble. They sense the presence of other roots as well. When two trees of different species meet, they may maintain respectful boundaries, weaving side by side without tangling. But when members of the same species encounter each other, their roots sometimes fuse, forming natural grafts that link their circulatory systems. These unions allow sugars and water to pass from one tree to another, knitting them together into something larger and more resilient. Through these bonds, a dying tree may continue feeding others long after its leaves have fallen forever. Its final act, one of quiet generosity. Deep underground, the soil is not a silent place. It hums with microbial life, moisture shifting through tiny pores, minerals dissolving and reforming, and fungal networks pulsing with slow, steady currents of carbon. Roots tap into these rhythms, sensing slight changes in pressure, nutrient concentration, and chemical gradients. These cues guide their growth, helping them find the richest patches of earth and avoid areas where toxins or heavy metals may lurk. Some roots release compounds that shape the microbial communities around them, encouraging beneficial bacteria and discouraging harmful ones. It is a form of gardening beneath the soil's surface, cultivated through chemistry rather than tools. Trees also communicate through the air above the ground, and these signals often mirror the ones they share below. When a tree is wounded by herbivores, it releases scents that drift through the forest, alerting neighbors to strengthen their defenses. These airborne signals intertwine with the underground network, forming a two-layered conversation that wraps the entire forest in a web of awareness. From root tip to canopy, trees live in a constant state of gentle communication, sharing the information needed to survive in a world filled with wind, storms, drought, and change. This system is not perfect, nor free from conflict. Some plants exploit the network, taking resources without giving much back. Certain fungi act as thieves rather than partners, drawing sugars from trees without returning nutrients. Yet even these imbalances become part of the forest's ongoing negotiation. Network adjusts, recalibrates, and shifts its flows in response to the needs and pressures of the moment. Just like any community, the underground world has harmony and tension, generosity and restraint. And through it all, the forest continues to grow. When you walk through a wooded path and hear the leaves rustling overhead, you may not think about the stories unfolding beneath your feet, but every step you take rests above a labyrinth of roots and threads, carrying messages written in molecules instead of words. Trees stand tall and silent, but beneath them lies a bustling world of connection. It is a world that grows without light, thrives without sound, and communicates without speech. And yet, in its own quiet way, it mirrors the same longing for connection that shapes all living things. As you drift toward rest, imagine this underground world holding the forest together like a vast, gentle embrace. Picture the roots reaching out across the soil, touching, sharing, supporting one another through darkness and time. In this hidden world, the forest becomes a single living tapestry, bound by threads finer than hair and older than memory. And with each slow breath you take, imagine yourself connected to that same quiet network of life, calm, rooted, and held in the steady rhythm of the earth. 3 leaves that follow the sun. From the moment dawn touches the horizon, a quiet choreography begins across the plant world. Long before most creatures stir, leaves are already awakening, tilting themselves gently toward the arriving light. To us, these motions seem invisible, unfolding too slowly for hurried eyes to catch. But if time was stretched like soft clay and sped into a flowing stream, you would see leaves turning gracefully, rising and lowering in slow arcs that resemble breathing. This movement is called phototropism, yet the word feels too technical for something so ancient and tender. What it really is, at its heart, is the plant's way of greeting the sun, of acknowledging the radiant energy that fuels every pulse of green life on Earth. Imagine a small seedling emerging from dark soil. Its stem, pale and fragile, lifts itself upward with a quiet determination. It doesn't search randomly. It knows where the light is. Within its cells are pigments called photoreceptors, tiny molecules that sense the direction and intensity of light. These receptors whisper signals through the plant's tissues, guiding its growth like a compass that points not north, but toward illumination. When more light touches one side of a stem, the cells on the opposite side stretch slightly faster, allowing the stem to bend gently toward brightness. This is not thought as we know it, but it is a kind of awareness, an instinctive reaching that comes from millions of years of learning how to survive in a world ruled by light. As the sun climbs higher, broad leaves unfurl like pages of a book opening to the day. Some tilt themselves precisely, adjusting their angle throughout the morning so that every cell can drink in the right amount of energy. Others ripple their edges or shift their orientation to avoid burning under intense midday rays. In the afternoon, as the sun drifts westward, the leaves follow, turning in slow, sweeping movements that you would notice only if you watched them for hours. Their motions echo the arc of the sky, reflecting a sense of time that moves not in seconds or minutes, but in the patient rhythm of daylight. Many plants display a behavior called heliotropism, a more specific form of sun tracking. Sunflowers are the most famous, though only their young heads follow the sun from east to west. As they grow older, their stems stiffen, and they settle into a permanent east-facing posture, ready to greet each new sunrise with the warmth they have learned to expect. But they are far from alone. Alpine flowers, living in cold mountain air, orient their blooms directly toward the sun to become tiny solar collectors, warming themselves enough to attract pollinators. Desert plants lean into light during cooler hours and turn away during scorching afternoons, conserving water in ways only they can understand. Each species follows the sun in its own way, shaped by the landscapes and climates that sculpted its ancestors long before humans walked the earth. Inside every leaf, a second choreography unfolds. Chloroplasts, the small, green organelles responsible for photosynthesis, shift their positions depending on the sun's brightness. In gentle, early morning light, they spread out across the cell to capture as much energy as possible. But when the sun grows harsh, they retreat into narrow lines along the cell walls to avoid damage, hiding like small creatures seeking shade. This micro-movement happens quietly, invisibly, yet it keeps the leaf safe while ensuring that photosynthesis continues at a steady rhythm. It is as if each leaf contains its own constellation of tiny lanterns, moving in harmony with the sun's changing expression. Even plants that do not actively track the sun show subtle daily movements that mirror its path. Some fold their leaves at dusk, closing themselves like hands preparing for rest. Others lower their leaves as evening approaches, conserving moisture and signaling the end of the day's work. As night deepens, these movements slow, becoming still and patient until morning light touches them again. This daily rising and falling is called nyctinisty, a gentle rhythmic pattern controlled by the plant's internal clock. It is a reminder that plants, like animals, follow cycles written into their very being. They anticipate dawn, respond to dusk, and align their lives with the slow turning of the earth. When you observe a forest at sunrise, you're witnessing not just light filling the canopy, but countless leaves awakening in unison. They angle themselves to catch the soft rays that slip between branches. They shimmer faintly as dew collects and evaporates, and their surface is warm under the gentle glow. If you could watch closely enough, you might see entire branches adjusting their positions microscopically, responding to the subtle changes of brightness as clouds drift overhead, or as shadows shift across the morning. While each movement is small, together they create the impression of a forest breathing the canopy, rising and falling like the chest of a sleeping giant. On the forest floor, smaller plants wait for their moment. Before the sun climbs high enough to pierce the canopy, these low-growing species make quick use of early light, tilting their leaves into the narrow beams that reach them briefly each morning. Their lives depend on such timing. In dense woodlands, a few minutes of sunlight can determine whether a plant thrives or fades. And so, with silent precision, they angle themselves toward each fleeting possibility. Their ability to reposition leaves rapidly faster than many of the taller trees above them, helps them survive in a world of shadows. These quick adjustments are not frantic but elegant, each movement measured and precise. As the sun moves overhead, open fields and meadows shimmer with leaves that follow its journey. Grasses lean slightly, aligning with light and breeze. Wildflowers adjust their petals to face warmth. Even aquatic plants track the sun beneath the surface of ponds and rivers, rotating their leaves like submerged solar sails to capture what they need. The world is filled with quiet motion that seems almost invisible, but is always present. A subtle choreography that shapes the energy flow of ecosystems everywhere. When evening arrives, the light softens, stretching across the landscape in warm, gentle hues. Leaves that have spent the day tracking the sun begin to settle back into positions of rest. Some turn upward slightly, others angle themselves downward, and some fold inward like closing wings. The movements are slower now, unhurried, as if plants are winding down alongside the animals returning to nests and burrows. This evening posture helps them conserve water, reduce exposure to nighttime chill, and prepare for the next cycle of light. In their stillness, they offer a sense of calm that mirrors the quiet at the end of our own days. If you ever sit beside a plant and simply breathe with it for a while, you might feel a gentle shift in perspective. Plants remind us that life does not need to rush to move forward. Their movements are deliberate, unhurried, guided by light that arrives every day without fail. While we race through hours and tasks, they follow the sun with a patience that feels almost like meditation. Their slow turning teaches us that attention does not have to be quick to be meaningful. It can unfold across long stretches of time, grounded in trust, rhythm, and presence. As you ease toward rest, imagine the leaves around you following the sun in their gentle, sky-bound arcs. Imagine their slow dances, their quiet shifts, their unwavering devotion to light. In their movements is a lesson that even in stillness, life can be full of purpose. Even at its slowest, growth continues. And even in silence, their emotions soft, steady, and true that remind us how to align ourselves with the world around us. Let that gentle rhythm guide you now, the same rhythm that guides every leaf toward the promise of dawn. 4 plants that hear the world around them, in the quiet stillness of the natural world, long before human voices filled the air with language. Long before birds learned their first songs, plants were already listening, not with ears or eardrums, not with the rush of nerves or the spark of synapses, but with a gentler form of perception, one woven through the softness of leaves, the stretch of stems, and the purlos, delicate vibrations that travel through air and soil. It is a way of sensing the world that moves slowly and silently, yet its effects ripple through the lives of plants with surprising clarity. Tonight, as we drift deeper into this calming journey, we explore the subtle truth that plants, in their quiet and unhurried way, can hear. The idea may seem improbable at first. Hearing suggests motion, direction, and speed, things plants rarely display in ways visible to us. But sound is not merely noise reaching an ear. It is vibration passing through space, traveling as waves that push gently against everything they meet. When a bee hovers beside a flower, its wings beat the air thousands of times each second. These vibrations move outward like ripples on a pond, brushing against petals, stems, and leaves. Even though we cannot see it, each vibration leaves a small, measurable impression. And in that impression, the plant finds meaning. Scientists have discovered that certain flowers respond to the specific frequency of a bee's wing beat. When a pollinator approaches, the flower vibrates ever so slightly, like a tuning fork touched by a soft breeze. Inside the petals, tiny structures detect this motion and send signals deeper into the plant's tissues. Within minutes, the flower increases the sweetness of its nectar, as if offering a more generous welcome to the visitor. It is a remarkable exchange, almost like a whispered conversation carried through the hum of wings. The bee comes seeking food, unaware that its very presence causes the plant to enrich its offering. The plant, in turn, uses sound as a cue to share more deeply from its stored sunlight, creating a harmony of cooperation shaped by millions of years of quiet evolution. But bees are not the only source of meaning for plants. Vibrations from wind, rain, animals, and even other plants carry information that shapes their behavior. The sound of gentle rainfall sends subtle tremors through the soil. Roots detect these vibrations and may begin to grow more actively, sensing that water is near. Leaves, touched by the rhythmic pulse of falling droplets, may adjust their orientation to shed excess moisture or to embrace it more fully. The forest, during a storm, becomes a symphony of moving branches and trembling stems, each part attuned to the pattern of the rain. Even the murmur of wind carries messages. When a young plant feels repeated vibration from wind passing through its leaves or stems, it responds by growing sturdier. It thickens its tissues, strengthens its fibers, and develops a more resilient form. This process, called thigmomorphogenesis, is nature's way of preparing plants for the unpredictability of the world around them. They do not wait for danger to arrive. They listen to the signals carried by air and adapt in advance. A plant that grows in stillness may be slender and delicate, but one raised in the presence of gentle breezes becomes strong without ever lifting a single leaf in haste. Some plants can distinguish between vibrations caused by wind and those caused by insects feeding on their leaves. The sound of a caterpillar chewing sends tiny pulses through the leaf surface, a trembling pattern of disturbance that spreads through the plant, like the earliest warning of a coming storm. In response, the plant may release chemical defenses, making its leaves taste bitter or producing compounds that slow digestion in the insect's gut. These defenses unfold not as a panic, but as a steady shift in chemistry. The plant listens, recognizes the pattern, and adjusts its internal environment to protect itself. What we perceive as silence is actually a realm of continuous signaling. Sound travels not only through air, but through the solid structures of the plant itself. Vibrations ripple along stems and down into roots, where they can influence growth beneath the soil. A root tip, navigating darkness with its microscopic senses, may curve away from certain frequencies and toward others. Some vibrations indicate compacted soil, where growth would be difficult. Others hint at open spaces filled with moisture. Through these cues, roots explore the underground world with the same sensitivity that leaves show above the surface. It is a kind of hearing that guides the plant's journey through earth, helping it find the paths of least resistance and the sources of greatest nourishment. Deep below the surface, fungi weave through the soil, connecting roots with networks so vast they seem almost infinite. Vibrations passing along these fungal threads may travel faster and farther than through soil alone. In this way, a disturbance near one tree could be felt faintly by another some distance away. Though the details of this signaling are still mysterious, it suggests that sound plays a role not only in individual plant behavior, but in the shared awareness of a forest community. Each tremor becomes a piece of information carried quietly through the earth. Plants also respond to sound, frequencies that come from sources far removed from their natural environment. In experiments, certain tones encourage seeds to germinate more quickly, or roots to grow more deeply. Low-frequency vibrations, similar to the rumble of distant thunder or the slow movements of animals, can enhance nutrient uptake in some species. While these responses might not resemble the hearing of animals, they reveal a capacity to interpret vibration as a meaningful part of the world. What is most striking is how gentle these responses are. Plants do not react with sudden movement or alarm. Their hearing is the hearing of patience. They listen to patterns repeated over hours or days. They respond with shifts in chemistry or growth, not with immediate gestures. Their awareness unfolds at the pace of their lives, steady, enduring, and profoundly calm. If you spend time near plants, especially in the stillness of early morning or the soft hush of evening, you may begin to sense their quiet receptivity. A garden feels different when the air is still, as though waiting for the first whisper of wind. A forest feels alive, not only with the calls of birds, but with the subtle trembling of leaves responding to each step on the ground. Even houseplants, resting in the gentle hum of a room, seem to hold a quiet readiness for the vibrations that guide their existence. As you drift toward rest, imagine the plants around you listening to the world with this delicate, sensitivity. Imagine the vibrations of your own breath, soft and steady, moving through the air like the far-off humming of a gentle bee. You share this world with beings who hear not through noise but through presence, who respond not with haste but with patience. In their stillness is a depth of awareness that invites us to slow down, to breathe, to listen with more than our ears. Lay your thoughts down gently now, like leaves settling at the end of a long day. Feel yourself part of this quiet world where every vibration carries meaning, where even the smallest sound becomes a ripple of connection. In the calm of the night, let the plant's gentle form of hearing remind you that you do not need to move quickly to understand. Sometimes, all you need is stillness, and in that stillness, you may hear the world speaking to you in the softest possible ways. 5. The slow breath of a forest. If you have ever walked through a forest at dawn, you may have felt a sense of quiet that goes beyond silence, a feeling that the air itself is alive, settling gently around you like a cool, invisible tide. That sensation is real. Forests breathe not in the way animals do, with lungs, expanding and contracting, but through a slow and constant exchange of gases that shapes the atmosphere itself. This breath is measured not in seconds, but in hours, days, and seasons. An ancient rhythm that has guided life on Earth long before the first creatures learned to inhale oxygen. Tonight, as you listen and drift closer to rest, imagine the world breathing with you, each tree participating in a vast and gentle symphony of air. To understand the forest's breath, we begin with the smallest structures, tiny pores called stomata that cover the surface of leaves. Each pore is a microscopic doorway, opening and closing in response to light, moisture, and temperature. When a leaf senses morning light, the stomata widen, allowing carbon dioxide to flow inward. This gas becomes the raw material for photosynthesis, the process by which plants create food from sunlight. As they sow, draw in carbon dioxide, they release oxygen back into the air, offering us the very breath we depend upon. This exchange is so subtle, so constant, that we rarely notice its effect. Yet the oxygen produced by forests sustains untold numbers of living beings every moment. The opening and closing of stomata is not random. It is a carefully tuned response to the world around the plant. In early morning, when light is gentle and humidity is high, the pores open widely, welcoming the first cool breaths of the day. As afternoon heat intensifies, many plants begin to close their stomata slightly to prevent too much water from escaping. In the stillness of evening, they loosen again, exchanging gases under the shelter of twilight. Throughout the night, some stomata remain partially open, allowing oxygen to flow inward as the plant respires, quietly consuming the sugars made during the day. This balance of opening and closing creates a rhythm that echoes the forest's own pulse, a cycle of breath that ebbs and flows with the passing hours. If you were to sit in the heart of a dense woodland and listen carefully, not with ears, but with imagination, you might sense the forest, inhaling carbon dioxide during the day, drawing it deep into its leaves and branches, and exhaling fresh oxygen that drifts gently into the air. At night, the process reverses slightly as trees release small amounts of carbon dioxide. Yet even then, their overall contribution remains overwhelmingly life-giving. The breath of a forest is not a single, synchronized motion, but a mosaic of individual breaths, each tree responding to light and shade, warmth and coolness, hunger and abundance. What is most remarkable is how this slow breath shapes the very air that surrounds us. Forests, especially vast tropical ones, release staggering amounts of water vapor through a process called transpiration. As sunlight warms the leaves, water evaporates from their surfaces, rising into the sky like an unseen mist. This vapor cools the air, forms clouds, and eventually returns to the earth as rain. In this way, forests do more than breathe. They help create weather, influencing wind patterns, rainfall, and humidity across entire regions. The Amazon rainforest, for example, produces so much moisture that it generates its own rainfall, cycling water through the atmosphere in an endless loop of renewal. This cycle of transpiration is another form of breathing, one that moves water rather than air. It is a slow release of moisture that brings life to the sky itself. When a beam of sunlight filters through a forest canopy, illuminating drifting specks of mist, you are witnessing the forest's breath becoming visible. Even on days when the air feels dry, countless leaves are quietly releasing water, shaping the atmosphere in ways we can feel on our skin. A walk through a forest on a warm afternoon often feels cooler than open land because the forest is constantly exhaling moisture, creating a natural air conditioning system that operates without sound or machinery. Deep underground, the forest breathes in another way through the soil. Roots draw in oxygen from the spaces between particles of earth, supporting the constant work of breaking down nutrients and generating energy. Microorganisms living in the soil also consume and release gases, contributing to a subterranean respiration that is just as important as the breath of the leaves above. Together, these processes help maintain a balance in the soil, ensuring that roots remain healthy and that water and minerals flow freely. If you were to rest your hand gently on forest soil, you might feel a faint warmth, the heat produced by countless tiny reactions occurring below. It is a quiet reminder that the earth itself is alive with breath and activity. In many ways, the forest's breath is a conversation between earth and sky. Leaves draw carbon dioxide from the air, using it to build new branches, flowers, and roots. Over time, these structures fall to the ground, where they decompose and return their nutrients to the soil. Microbes and fungi break them down, releasing carbon dioxide back into the air or locking parts of it into the earth for centuries. This slow cycling of gases is a kind of whisper between the living and the no longer living, an exchange that sustains the forest's continued growth. Nothing is wasted. Every breath becomes part of a larger cycle that nourishes the entire ecosystem. Forests also breathe in harmony with the seasons. In spring, when new leaves unfurl, the forest's inhalations grow stronger, drawing in more carbon dioxide as photosynthesis intensifies. Summer brings the fullest breath, a deep and steady rhythm that peaks with long days and abundant sunlight. Autumn signals a gentle exhale as leaves change color, fall, and allow respiration to slow. Winter brings the quietest breath, a period of rest when many trees stand bare and still. Even evergreen forests, which keep their needles year-round, breathe more softly in winter's chill. This seasonal pattern mirrors our own cycles of activity and rest, reminding us that all living things move through rhythms of energy and stillness. If you ever find yourself standing in a forest and feeling calmer than before, it is not just the beauty that soothes to you. It is the chemistry of the air itself. Forests release compounds called phytoncides, natural substances that protect plants from pests and disease. When we inhale these molecules, they can reduce stress, improve mood, and quiet the mind. The forest's breath becomes a balm for the human body, a gentle offering that asks for nothing in return. With each inhale, you take in a piece of the forest's calm, and with each exhale, you release the weight of your day. The breath of a forest is not dramatic or loud. It is slow, steady, and patient qualities that seem rare in the pace of modern life. But if you allow yourself to imagine it, you might feel the way this breath surrounds you, even now. Picture the leaves gently opening their pores to the fading light, the soft rise of water vapor drifting upward, the roots drawing in oxygen from the cool earth below. A forest breathes, not as one organism, but as millions of beings working in harmony. And in that harmony, there is a lesson about stillness and balance. As you rest tonight, imagine your breath aligning with that of the trees. Inhale deeply, as they do when sunlight touches their leaves. Exhale slowly, like moisture, rising into the air at dusk. Let each breath remind you that you are connected to the forests that cradle the world. Their patience can be your patience. Their rhythm can be your rhythm. And in their quiet, endless breath, you may find the calm you've been seeking. 6 ancient trees that, remember, centuries. Across mountains, valleys, and wind-swept plains, there stand beings older than cities, older than kingdoms, older even than many of the stories humans tell about the world. These are the ancient trees, quiet giants, who keep their memories not in words, but in the slow growth of their rings, in the thickness of their bark, and in the patient endurance of their roots. When you stand before one of these old trees, you can almost feel the weight of time surrounding it, as though the air around its trunk has thickened with centuries of quiet observation. Tonight, as you settle deeper into rest, we wander gently into the world of these long-lived elders, whose lives stretch across spans so vast they make our own years feel like brief sparks of light. Imagine a tree that sprouted when the world seemed untouched, when continents were quieter and human footpaths were still, forming across the earth. Some bristlecone pines in the high mountains began their lives before pyramids were built, before the first alphabets took shape. They have endured thousands of winters, their twisted trunks shaped by storms that came and went long before anyone thought to record history. Yet these trees still stand, their branches reaching towards skies that have changed countless times. To look at one is to look at a living archive, a witness not only to the world as it is now, but to the world as it once was. The memory of a tree is written in its rings. Each year, even the oldest, individuals add a thin layer of wood beneath their bark, a soft cylinder that hardens slowly into a record of that season's life. In wet years, the rings grow wide, filled with the abundance of rain. In years of drought, they narrow, tightening into thin bands that speak of struggle and endurance. If fire sweeps through the forest, its heat may scar the rings, leaving behind dark marks that do not fade. If insects swarm or temperatures shift or storms carve through the land, the rings record those stories too. A tree's trunk is like a library made of time, each ring a page, each scar a chapter, each variation a quiet echo of the climate that shaped it. Scientists who study these rings can read centuries of weather, mapping the rise and fall of temperatures, the rhythm of storms, and the breathing cycle of the planet itself. They call this study dendrochronology, but the word feels almost too scientific for something so poetic. What it reveals is that ancient trees hold memories far older than any written record. Through their rings, we can trace years of abundance, years of hardship, years when rivers ran high, and years when dust filled the air. The trees remember, even when people forget, and in their memories, we find clues that guide our understanding of Earth's ever-changing climate. But rings are only part of the story. The bark of an ancient tree is another record, a protective armor shaped by centuries of weather. Some barks grow thick and rugged, resisting fire with layers that crack and fold like the pages of a stone-carved book. Others remain smooth, renewing themselves slowly as time passes. In some species, the bark reveals the tree's age in subtle patterns of color, texture, and scent. If you run your hand gently along the surface of an old cedar, you may feel grooves shaped by wind and rain, over centuries, soft, shallow marks that speak of storms long past. The scent of ancient wood carries the memory of countless seasons, warm summers and cold winters layered together in a fragrance that is somehow both earthy and timeless. Roots, too, are a chronicle of endurance. The roots of ancient trees often reach deep into the earth, following paths carved by generations of predecessors. They hold stories of shifting soils, of rocks worn down slowly by pressure, of underground streams that flowed centuries before anyone named them. Over time, these roots anchor the tree so firmly that even fierce winds cannot uproot it. They form symbiotic relationships with fungi and soil organisms that help them gather nutrients, a network that expands and contracts with the seasons, growing stronger over decades and centuries. Through these underground connections, an ancient tree becomes not just a lone individual, but a pillar of its entire ecosystem, supporting countless other living beings in its shade. Some ancient trees grow alone, sculpted by wind and isolation. Others grow in groves, forming communities that have stood together for millennia. In the high mountains, bristlecone pines grow in twisted shapes, their bark stripped away by cold winds until the dead wood gleams silver under the sun. Yet even the bare sections remain part of the tree, carrying nutrients between living patches of tissue. A bristlecone pine can lose large portions of its trunk and still survive for thousands of years, a testament to resilience that borders on the miraculous. Across the ocean, giant sequoias rise in colossal stillness, their trunks wide enough to shelter families, their branches towering high into the finest mist. Some have lived for more than 3,000 years, their reddish bark thick with resin that protects them from fire. Flames that would destroy other forests often strengthen sequoias, opening their cones and helping new seedlings to sprout. It is a strange and beautiful truth that fire, something often associated with destruction, can become a partner in the cycle of renewal for these ancient trees. Through centuries of burning and regrowth, the sequoias have learned to endure, to transform challenge into survival. In Mediterranean lands, olive trees grow with a different kind of endurance. Their trunks twist like braided rope, hollowing slowly as they age, yet continuing to produce fruit for centuries. Some ancient olive trees still bear olives after 1,000 years, standing beside modern roads and villages, yet rooted in history far older than any surrounding structure. They bridge the past and present through the quiet persistence of life, offering a reminder that growth can continue long after the shape of a body has changed. Along the coast of California, coastal redwoods stretch skyward, some over 300 feet tall, making them the tallest living beings on Earth. Though individually they may not be as old as the bristlecone pines or sequoias, their towering presence carries the memory of vast stretches of time. They grow in misty forests where fog nourishes them even during drought, and they share resources through interconnected root systems, forming communities that support one another across centuries. What all these ancient trees share is not just longevity, but patience. They grow slowly, steadily, accepting the gifts of each season and weathering the challenges that arise. They do not rush. Their time is measured in lifetimes of animals, in cycles of rivers, in ebbs and flows of climates. And yet, in their slow pace, there is a kind of wisdom, a reminder that resilience often comes from stillness, that strength often arises from enduring rather than resisting. If you stand beneath an ancient tree and close your eyes, you might feel a sense of grounding, as if the centuries it has lived extend downward into the earth, offering you a connection to something larger than yourself. Its presence can feel like a quiet reassurance, a reminder that life persists through change, that time passes gently even when we are not aware of it. Trees do not speak in words, but they communicate through their endurance, their grace, and their calm presence. As you drift toward rest tonight, imagine an ancient tree standing nearby, its roots deep, its trunk strong, its branches reaching toward the stars. Feel the long, slow rhythm of its life, the steady years layered within it like soft rings of memory. Let that calm endurance settle into your thoughts. Let the patience of centuries guide your breath, and let yourself rest in the quiet wisdom of the world's oldest living beings, who stand in silence, but hold within them the memory of time itself. 7 forests create their own rain. When you walk beneath the green shelter of a forest, it is easy to feel as though you are stepping into a world that exists apart from the sky. The canopy stretches overhead like a woven tapestry of leaves, filtering sunlight into gentle patterns that dance across the ground. The air feels cooler here, softer, as though the forest itself exhales a delicate breath that wraps around you. Yet what we often forget is that forests do far more than shape the air, they shape the sky, through a slow and a miraculous process. Trees help create the very rain that nourishes them, stitching together the cycles of earth and atmosphere with extraordinary grace. Tonight, as you drift deeper into rest, let your thoughts wander through this gentle exchange, where forests lift water into the air and call the clouds home. The journey begins with sunlight. As morning spreads its warm fingers across the canopy, each leaf awakens with purpose. Hidden within its surface are tiny pores, stomata, opening softly with the arrival of light. Through these openings, water vapor escapes into the air, drawn upward, from the intricate network of veins that weave through the leaf. Though a single pore is nearly invisible, a single tree may have millions of them, each releasing a momentary sigh of moisture. Across an entire forest, these tiny breaths combine into a vast river of vapor rising silently into the sky. This process is called transpiration, yet the word feels too technical to capture the beauty of what happens. It is more like the forest is exhaling, lifting water back into the atmosphere, one soft breath at a time. A large tree can release hundreds of liters of water in a day, and an entire forest acts almost like an ocean of leaves, evaporating moisture at a steady rhythm that is both powerful and calm. The air beneath the canopy becomes saturated with this gentle mist, making the forest feel cool even on the warmest afternoons. If you pause and breathe deeply, you may feel the faint dampness on your skin, the result of thousands of leaves quietly releasing water into the world. As this vapor rises, it drifts upward through gaps in the canopy and into the open sky. There, it begins to join with other molecules of moisture, gathering into clusters that slowly form the beginnings of clouds. These clouds do not appear instantly, nor do they always rain. Instead, they form through countless tiny collisions, vapor turning into droplets, droplets finding one another, each step guided by wind, temperature, and the unseen architecture of the atmosphere. The forest sends water upward with patience, trusting the sky to do its work in time. This continuous cycle of lifting water is so powerful that forests can influence entire weather systems. The Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of the planet, releases so much moisture that it helps drive atmospheric currents across continents. Water that evaporates in one region may fall as rain hundreds of miles away, sustaining landscapes far beyond the forest boundaries. Some scientists describe this as a flying river, a stream of moisture flowing invisibly through the air, fed by forests that breathe water into the sky. It is a reminder that the boundaries between ecosystems are porous, that the life of one place nourishes the life of another in ways we rarely see. But forests do not only contribute water to the atmosphere, they also help seeds of clouds take shape. Leaves release tiny particles, known as aerosols, into the air. These particles can come from plant oils, fragments of pollen, or even microscopic compounds produced during photosynthesis. When they drift upward, they become centers around which water vapor can condense. A droplet forming around one of these particles is like a pearl forming around a grain of sand. Slowly, layer by layer, it grows, becoming part of a cloud. Without these particles, clouds would struggle to form, and rain would fall less often. Forests, in this way, are not just creators of moisture, but architects of the very structures that return water to the earth. As clouds thicken, they drift with the wind, carried across the landscape. Some pass over the forest without releasing rain, while others become heavy, their droplets merging until gravity begins to pull them down. When rain finally falls, it nourishes more than just the plants. It replenishes streams, fills rivers, and seeps into underground reservoirs. It carries nutrients downward to roots and restores the moisture that trees released days earlier. This cycle of rising vapor and returning rain can repeat many times before water leaves the region. In some tropical rainforests, a single molecule of water may be recycled 5 or 6 times, falling as rain, rising again as vapor, and falling once more, each time shaped by the breath of the forest. Even forests far from the equator influence rainfall. In temperate regions, broad-leaved trees release vapor steadily throughout spring and summer, helping to form afternoon clouds that bring gentle rain. Coniferous forests, with their needle-covered branches, continue releasing moisture even during cooler seasons, maintaining humidity when other plants rest. In mountainous regions, forests on lower slopes send vapor upward, where cooler air condenses it into mist, feeding the streams that run down into valleys. Everywhere you look, forests are in quiet conversation with the sky, guiding the cycle of water with patience that mirrors the slow growth of their trunks. The effects of a forest's breath are not limited to rain alone. When trees release moisture, they also cool the air, reducing temperatures in a way that shapes local climates. A forest can lower the temperature of its surroundings by several degrees, simply through transpiration, a natural air conditioner powered by sunlight and water. This cooling effect influences wind patterns, nudging air upward and guiding clouds into gentler paths. It softens extreme heat, making summer days more bearable and protecting the delicate balance of life beneath the canopy. When forests are removed, the sky changes. Without trees to release moisture and particles into the air, clouds thin, rain falls less often or becomes unpredictable. Rivers shrink, soils dry out, and landscapes shift toward harsher climates. But when forests thrive, they create a world where rain follows rhythm rather than chaos, where water cycles through the air with the grace of a long exhale. In this balance, forests become stewards of the sky, caregivers of the water that all life depends upon. If you sit quietly in a forest and allow your imagination to soften the edges of your thoughts, you may feel the subtle presence of this cycle. The leaves above you whisper as they release their faint mist. The air feels tender, cool, as though held in a gentle embrace. Perhaps clouds gather overhead, drifting slowly across the treetops. And beneath your feet, the soil rests, waiting for the gift of rain that will return everything the forest has breathed into the sky. As you settle into rest tonight, imagine this endless exchange, water rising from leaves like tiny lanterns drifting upward, gathering in the sky and falling again as soft rain. Let that cycle calm your mind. Let it remind you that even the heaviest storms begin with a whisper of vapor, and that renewal follows every return. Forests teach us that giving and receiving are part of the same motion, that breath moves not just through lungs but through the leaves of the world itself. And in that slow, patient rhythm, you may find your own breath settling, becoming steady and gentle, like the quiet rain that begins in the heart of the trees. 8 plants glow with invisible light. If you were to walk through a meadow at noon or wander beneath a forest canopy in the early morning, your eyes would see leaves shimmering in shades of green, soft mint, deep emerald, pale lime, and every tone between. But hidden within that familiar green is a secret the human eye cannot perceive. Plants, in their own quiet way, glow, not with the bright flash of fireflies or the brilliant radiance of stars, but with a soft, delicate light that lingers beneath the surface. It is light born from the very process that sustains them, a faint fluorescence that drifts like an invisible aura around every leaf. Tonight, as your thoughts grow softer and the world around you settles into stillness, we explore this quiet glow, an unseen radiance that reveals the hidden beauty of the plant world. The source of this glow lies deep within each leaf, in structures called chloroplasts. These tiny green organelles are the engines of photosynthesis, capturing sunlight and turning it into energy. When sunlight hits a leaf, most of it is absorbed and transformed into the chemical power plants need to grow. But a small fraction of that energy, just a whisper of it, is re-emitted as a faint fluorescence. This light is usually red or near infrared, far too subtle for human eyes to detect on their own. Yet with sensitive instruments, scientists can see the gentle shimmer of light leaving the leaf, like the faint pulse of a distant star, felt rather than seen. This glow is called chlorophyll fluorescence, and it is a kind of sigh from the plant, a release of energy it does not need, a soft exhale of excess light. In the stillness of night, when sunlight fades and the intensity of photosynthetic activity drops, some plants emit slightly more of this hidden glow. Inside a darkened forest, each leaf becomes a quiet ember, glowing not with fire, but with the memory of sunlight it has gathered throughout the day. It is a reminder that plants do not simply harvest light, they carry it within themselves, holding its energy deep inside their tissues. The glow of plants is not constant. It shifts with their health, with the warmth of the day, with the moisture in the soil, and with the nutrients flowing through their veins. When a plant is stressed, when it is thirsty, overheated, or lacking essential minerals, it emits more of this fluorescent light. The chloroplasts release the extra energy they cannot use, scattering it into the air like particles of soft, invisible fire. To scientists, this glow is a language, a way of understanding how a plant feels, what it needs, and how it responds to its environment. Satellites orbiting the Earth measure the faint fluorescence of forests to track the health of entire ecosystems. In this way, the hidden glow of leaves becomes a global heartbeat, a measure of the planet's living green pulse. Imagine looking at a leaf, not with your eyes, but with the sensitivity of these instruments. Instead of a flat green surface, you would see a soft red shimmer dancing across it. Every cell, every vein, every tiny pore would emit gentle flashes of light as photons leave the leaf, in slow waves. As sunlight changes, growing brighter, shifting color through the day, the glow shifts too, adjusting to the plant's needs. The leaf becomes a living canvas, painted with light patterns that reveal its inner workings. It is a quiet, elegant communication between plant and sky. But the glow of plants is not limited to chlorophyll. Some plants produce natural pigments called flavonoids, anthocyanins, and carotenoids, molecules that help protect leaves from harsh sunlight. These pigments absorb harmful wavelengths and release some of that energy as fluorescence as well, in ultraviolet light. Many leaves glow in bright blues and greens, their veins lighting up like rivers under moonlit skies. While humans cannot see this glow naturally, many insects and birds can. To them, the world of plants is filled with luminous signals, guiding them toward flowers rich in nectar, or leaves ready for pollination. What appears ordinary to us is radiant to them, a landscape painted with hidden light. Some flowers take this phenomenon further, Their petals glow in complex patterns under ultraviolet light, creating invisible roadmaps for pollinators. Bees, with their ability to sound, see ultraviolet, follow these glowing trails directly to the heart of the flower, where nectar waits. What appears to us as a simple yellow bloom may shimmer like a galaxy through a bee's eyes, with bright glowing rings, dots, or stripes. These ultraviolet signals guide pollinators with precision, ensuring that the flower's reproductive structures are visited and pollination occurs. It is as though flowers whisper to insects through patterns of invisible light, creating a conversation that has guided evolution for millions of years. In the deep ocean, where sunlight fades into blue darkness, plants and algae glow more visibly. Certain species of phytoplankton, drifting through waves like tiny stars, emit flashes of bioluminescent light when disturbed. While this glow comes from a different chemical process than chlorophyll fluorescence, it reminds us that the relationship between plants and light extends beyond the land. Oceanic plants help illuminate the vast underwater world, turning waves into shifting fields of blue fire on dark nights. Each spark is a sign of life, a reminder that even in the most remote places, light and growth are intertwined. Even algae living on land display fluorescence that strengthens in unusual conditions. In ice, where thin layers of algae cling to the underside of frozen sheets, ultraviolet light from the sun causes them to glow in hues of soft pink and blue. These glaciers, though cold and inhospitable, become canvases painted with subtle radiance. This glow guides scientists as they study melting ice, offering clues about the health of fragile polar ecosystems. Though invisible to our everyday vision, this light shapes the world in quiet ways. It helps pollinators find their meals. It allows scientists to monitor the breathing of forests. It reveals patterns in ecosystems that would otherwise remain hidden, and it reminds us that plants are not passive beings. They are active participants in a conversation with sunlight, absorbing its energy, using what they need, and releasing what they cannot hold. Each leaf becomes a tiny lantern, glowing softly in a spectrum beyond our reach. If you imagine yourself lying in a meadow at dusk, letting your eyes close as a warm breeze touches the grass, picture the hidden glow that surrounds you. Imagine each blade of grass radiating a faint red shimmer, each leaf in the trees above, releasing the soft memory of daylight. You are resting within a quiet galaxy of invisible stars, each one shaped like a leaf or petal, each one holding the story of sunlight gathered throughout the day. As you drift towards sleep, let this unseen radiance wrap around your thoughts. The world is full of gentle light, even when darkness settles over the land. Plants glow with the warmth of the sun, carrying its memory into the night, just as you carry the soft glow of calmness within yourself. In this hidden illumination, there is peace, depth, and quiet. Wonder. Let it guide you now, like a faint, warm ember glowing in your own stillness. 9. The secret life inside tree rings. If you have ever paused beside the smooth stump of a fallen tree and traced the circles etched into its surface, you have glimpsed a story far deeper than it first appears. Those rings, stacked one inside the next like ripples frozen in time, are not merely patterns, they are the soft, wooden memories of the tree, its autobiography written in silence, one year after another, through storms and sunlight, droughts and gentle rains. Each ring holds a fragment of the world the tree once lived through, a quiet testament to the passage of centuries. Tonight, as you ease into stillness, let us wander into this hidden chronicle, discovering the slow and intricate life recorded within every line of a tree's heart. A tree begins its story as a seedling, small and fragile, pushing its first roots into the earth. In that first year of life, the young tree forms its earliest ring, a thin circle of growth shaped by the conditions it encounters. If the soil is rich, if sunlight is abundant, if water flows easily, the ring grows wide and generous, a mark of a fortunate beginning. But if the year is harsh, if rain is scarce, or frost comes early, the ring will be narrow, a reminder of a challenging season the young tree had to endure. Even in these earliest stages, the tree is already writing, not with ink or pencil, but with the steady expansion of its own living tissue. As the tree grows older, each new year adds another ring just beneath the bark. These rings are layers of xylem, the water-conducting tissue that carries moisture upward from the roots to the leaves. Once a year, the tree produces a fresh wave of this tissue, forming a distinct band. The lighter part of the ring appears in spring and early summer, when growth is fast and the tree's cells are large and full of water. The darker part forms later in the year, as growth slows and the cells become denser, creating a firm boundary that marks the close of one annual cycle. The contrast between early wood and late wood becomes the signature of the year, a natural timestamp that endures long after the leaves have fallen. Each ring is unique, shaped by the specific circumstances of that year. A wet spring produces wide, pale early wood. A hot, dry summer narrows the dark, late wood. A year of unusual cold presses both bands closer together. When insect outbreaks occur, the tree redirects energy to defend itself, leaving subtle traces in the texture of the ring. When storms rip through the forest, tearing branches or bruising the bark, the tree surrounds the damage with new growth, sealing the wound in a halo of darker, denser wood. These reactions, small, silent, and instinctive, form scars that remain visible long after the forest has quieted again. Fire leaves its own signature. Though flames may scorch the bark, ancient trees often survive, responding by sealing the burnt tissue behind fresh layers of wood. This creates a dark crescent within the ring, a mark of survival rather than destruction. Over centuries, a single tree may accumulate multiple fire scars, each one another chapter in its long history. Scientists can read these scorch marks, mapping the rhythms of fire across entire landscapes, discovering how often nature once burned before human interference altered the cycle. In this way, trees become historians, preserving the memory of lightning storms and ancient summers long after those seasons have dissolved into the past. Tree rings also capture the story of drought. During years when rivers shrink and air dries, the rings become narrow and dense, reflecting the tree's struggle to conserve water. In extreme drought, growth may cease almost entirely, leaving behind a ring so thin it is barely visible. These lean years become part of the tree's narrative, and when thousands of rings are compared across forests, they reveal periods of drought that once stretched across continents. Some droughts recorded in tree rings today occurred centuries before weather records existed, allowing scientists to understand patterns of climate that would otherwise be lost to time. Yet rings also preserve gentler memories. In years when sunlight is soft and plentiful, when rains arrive in steady rhythms, when roots drink deeply from the soil, the rings expand in graceful, wide bands. These are years of abundance, times when the tree grows strong and tall. Inside the trunk, these years stand out like warm passages in a poem, reminders that nature offers not only hardship, but seasons of quiet generosity. The rings can reveal more intimate stories as well, stories not of weather or fire, but of community. When trees grow close together, their rings reflect the competition for light. A young tree growing in the shadow of its elders may form narrow rings year after year, its growth stunted by the tall canopy above. But if a neighboring giant falls, allowing sunlight to pour into a once dark space, the rings suddenly widen, marking the moment opportunity arrived. It is as though the tree takes a deep breath after years of restraint, stretching upward with renewed vigor. In this way, the forest writes its relationships into the very bodies of its members. Some rings even show how trees respond to companionship. When two trees grow side by side for centuries, their rings may reflect synchronized patterns, years of shared drought, shared sunlight, shared storms. These similarities create matching timelines in their trunks, allowing scientists to link trees that once grew together but were separated by time or distance. Entire forests can be reconstructed from such clues. Each tree ring a tiny thread in the fabric of the larger landscape. Inside the rings, the tree's core, the heartwood, holds another story. Though no longer alive, this inner wood strengthens the tree, forming a quiet foundation that endures for centuries. Its color deepens with age, becoming richer, sometimes darker, sometimes warm like honey. Heartwood is the archive of the tree's oldest memories, preserved in silence at its center. Though the outer rings continue to grow and change, the heartwood remains constant. A stillness at the core of a life defined by motion, growth, and change. If you imagine yourself sitting beside an old stump, running your fingertips along the rings, you might feel as though you are touching time itself. Each band beneath your hand represents a year that has passed seasons of growth, seasons of stillness, seasons of quiet survival. These rings are gentle reminders that life unfolds gradually, in cycles that repeat but never truly return. They teach us that growth is layered, that strength is built one thin ring at a time, that the challenges we endure become part of who we are. In the forest, the life inside tree rings continues long after a tree falls. Decomposers move in fungi, weaving their threads through the wood, insects carving small tunnels, moss spreading across the surface. Even as the stump returns to the soil, its rings remain a testament to the life it once held. And in that decomposition, new trees find nourishment, using the minerals released from the old wood to write new rings of their own. Life feeds upon memory, and memory fuels new growth, continuing the cycle in quiet, patient loops. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, imagine the soft circles of a tree trunk unfolding beneath your thoughts. Each ring, a breath. Each year, a heartbeat. Each line, a reminder of the strength born from time. Let this slow, wooden memory guide your own sense of calm. You too grow in layers. You too carry years within you. And in each one, there is a quiet beauty, an enduring story written gently beneath the surface, waiting to be felt. 10 plants that sleep at night. As daylight fades and the sky softens into shades of rose, lavender, and deepening blue, the world begins to exhale. Birds quiet their reserve. Songs. The warmth of the day slips gently from stones and leaves, and the first cool breath of evening settles across the land. In these tranquil moments, many of us instinctively begin to slow down, preparing for rest. Yet, we are not alone in this transition. Plants too have their own ritual of sleep, a nightly rhythm as ancient as the turning of the earth. Though they do not dream, and though their rest is not marked by eyelids or breath, they follow a cycle of waking and sleeping that echoes the same lullaby of light and darkness that guides all life. Tonight, let us drift into this quiet world and explore the gentle ways plants prepare for night. To an unhurried observer, the day's end in a garden or forest brings a subtle shift in posture. Leaves that were wide open under the sun begin to tilt, fold, droop, or curl. Many plants display a movement known as nyctinisty, nightly adjustment driven by their internal clock. When dusk arrives, Their cells respond to the fading light by changing the pressure of water inside their tissues. As this pressure changes, leaves shift their orientation, often lowering themselves or folding inward, like hands clasping gently in. Sleep. This motion is not dramatic or quick. It unfolds in slow, graceful arcs, the plant settling into stillness as darkness deepens. If you watch a clover patch towards sunset, you might see the small leaves begin to fold neatly, 2 by 2, creating a shape reminiscent of a tiny, closed umbrella. In the morning, when sunlight returns, the leaves open again, revealing their bright green surfaces. This rhythmic movement helps protect the plant from nighttime chill, reduces exposure to predators such as insects and grazing animals, and conserves water when evaporation rates drop. Though subtle, it is a sign of the plant's internal awareness, a quiet recognition that the day has ended and rest is needed. Some plants take their nightly preparations even further. Legumes, for example, fold their leaves tightly, reducing their surface area. This behavior may help them avoid damage from cool night temperatures or dew that could weigh down delicate foliage. Flowers of many species close their petals at night, shielding their pollen from moisture or nighttime insects that might disrupt reproductive cycles. The morning sun coaxes them open again, inviting pollinators with warmth and color. This daily closing and opening becomes a gentle breath, inhaling light and exhaling rest, marking time with the same steadiness that the moon traces across the sky. These nightly behaviors are guided by the plant's circadian rhythm, an internal clock that keeps time even when external cues are limited. Just as humans feel sleepy at night even if they are kept in artificial light, plants continue their cycles even in laboratory conditions. Their leaves fold and unfold on schedule, as though they carry a memory of rhythm deep within their cells. This internal clock is shaped by ancient genetics, tuned to the pattern of Earth's rotation. Long before humans built clocks or calendars, plants were keeping time with exquisite precision, opening and closing their tissues in harmony with the rising and setting of the sun. Within the plant, the circadian rhythm coordinates countless processes, many of which shift into different modes after dusk. Photosynthesis slows to a gentle halt as the last rays of daylight fade. Without sunlight, the plant turns to respiration, consuming the sugars it produced earlier in the day to fuel its nighttime activities. Though the plant may appear still, it is busy in ways that remain hidden. It repairs damaged tissues, strengthens cell walls, and processes nutrients gathered by roots. Night becomes a time of healing and preparation, allowing the plant to greet the next morning with renewed strength. For some species, night brings opportunities instead of rest. Certain flowers bloom only after sunset, releasing perfumes that drift through the cool air. These fragrances attract nocturnal pollinators, moths, bats, and insects that navigate by moonlight and scent rather than by color. The sweetness of night-blooming jasmine, the velvety glow of evening primrose, the pale petals of moonflowers, they all invite pollinators with scents stronger in the darkness. Their sleep is not a stillness, but a shift in activity that aligns with their nighttime visitors. These flowers remind us that sleep, in the plant world, can take many forms. Even plants that appear dormant at night continue to communicate subtly with their surroundings. Roots grow steadily into the soil, searching for pockets of moisture and nutrients. Some species increase root growth during the night, taking advantage of cooler conditions and reduced evaporative stress. The soil itself cools and becomes more stable, allowing roots to extend with less resistance. What we interpret as dormancy is often a rebalancing, leaves resting while roots work, cells restoring themselves while the outer plant becomes still. Just as humans fall asleep more easily in the presence of darkness, plants are sensitive to the faintest glow, Exposure to artificial lights, street lamps, porch lights, or city illumination can confuse their circadian rhythms. A tree bathed in soft urban light may delay its nightly leaf movements, or a flower illuminated by a flower lamp may refuse to close. These disruptions, subtle though they may be, remind us that the plant's internal clock is delicate, shaped by billions of years of natural light cycles. Even a gentle glow can shift its understanding of day and night, much like light from a phone or screen can disturb our own sleep. Tropical forests, where night falls quickly and completely, present a different rhythm. Leaves in these dense regions often move dramatically, lowering themselves in response to sudden darkness. Some palms fold their fronds sharply, their silhouettes transforming as the light drains from the sky. In the understory, where little sunlight reaches to begin with, plants rely intensely on circadian cues to determine when to rest and when to rise. The shift from day to night becomes a wave moving through the forest, each plant responding in its own time as shadow deepens. Meanwhile, in deserts, the dance of night has another meaning. Temperatures drop swiftly after sunset, and plants adapted to this climate use nighttime to open their stomata, tiny pores on their leaves, so that they can take in carbon dioxide without losing precious water. This unusual process, called photosynthesis, allows desert plants to gather what they need at night and save it for use during the day. Their nightly breath becomes a quiet, efficient adaptation to survive in places where water is scarce and sunlight is fierce. Their sleep is not a shutting down, but a shifting of gears to make the most of conditions that would be harsh by day. In the calm of night, the forest, meadow, or garden becomes a tapestry of stillness, punctuated by slow, deliberate movement, a leaf curling, a flower closing, a vine lowering itself. These motions happen without sound, without hurry, as, though guided by the same lullabies that soothe the evening sky, if you stand in a quiet garden just after dusk, close your eyes, and breathe deeply, you may feel the softness of this transition. The plants around you are slipping into rest, adjusting their posture, conserving energy, preparing for the next sunrise. As you drift into sleep, imagine your thoughts moving like leaves folding at twilight. Let the weight of the day fall away, just as plants release the tasks of daylight hours. Let the darkness be a comfort, a cue that it is time to turn inward, to restore, to breathe more slowly. Plants sleep not because they are tired, but because rest is part of their rhythm, part of the way life moves gently through cycles. In their quiet posture, there is wisdom, a reminder that growth requires pauses, that strength comes from renewal, and that even in stillness, life continues with a steady, peaceful purpose. Tonight, let yourself rest like a leaf, closing softly in the dark. Let your body settle into its own natural rhythm, guided by the turning of the world, by the quiet certainty that night brings restoration. You are part of this same cycle of light and rest, a living being, following an ancient pattern shared by forests, fields, and flowers. And as you inhale deeply and exhale slowly, you join the gentle sleep of the plants around you, finding peace in the simplicity of the night. 11 forests that clean the air with every breath. When you walk through a forest and feel the air grow cooler, softer, and somehow easier to breathe, you are sensing a quiet miracle unfolding all around you. Every leaf, every blade of grass, every moss-covered trunk participates in a kind of gentle cleansing, purifying the atmosphere one slow breath at a time. It is a process so constant and effortless that we seldom notice it, yet it shapes the very air that fills our lungs. Forests breathe in through millions of tiny pores, drawing carbon dioxide from the sky and releasing oxygen in return. but their influence reaches far beyond this simple exchange. They filter pollutants, trap particles, absorb chemicals, and refresh the atmosphere in ways both delicate and profound. Tonight, as you relax into a deeper stillness, let us drift into this quiet purification where forests become living lungs for the world. The air around us is never truly still. Even on the gray, calmest days, it moves in subtle waves, carrying drifting particles of dust, pollen, smoke, and microscopic fragments too small for us to see. Urban air often contains chemicals released by machines and factories, compounds that linger and irritate the lungs. Yet when this air enters a forest, something changes. Leaves act as gentle filters, catching these tiny travelers on their surfaces. The rough texture of bark, the intricate structure of needles, and the soft fuzz of moss all help trap airborne particles. Once caught, these particles cling to the plant's surface until rain washes them away or microbes break them down. In this way, forests act as vast natural filters, removing pollutants without effort or noise. At the heart of this purification lies the process of photosynthesis, where leaves draw in carbon dioxide. This gas, which builds up in the atmosphere from the burning of fuel and the breath of all living creatures, becomes the raw material for sugar production inside the leaf. With the help of sunlight, the carbon dioxide is transformed into glucose and oxygen. The oxygen drifts outward through the stomata, joining the atmosphere like a quiet exhale. When you inhale near trees, you breathe in the result of countless microscopic exchanges, oxygen that once lived inside a leaf and is now offered freely to the world. Some forests are particularly powerful in this exchange. Tropical rainforests, dense with layers of foliage from the forest floor to the towering canopy, release vast quantities of oxygen. Their constant growth and abundant sunlight make them some of the most active lungs on Earth. Temperate forests, though quieter and often seasonal, also play an essential role. Even evergreen forests, with their needles instead of broad leaves, contribute steadily through harsh winters and bright summers alike. Each forest type breathes in its own rhythm, shaped by climate, water, and sunlight. Yet all contribute to the slow, enduring purification of the air. But forests do much more than exchange gases. They absorb harmful pollutants directly through their leaves and roots. Nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, ozone, and other chemicals drift into stomata, dissolving into the plant's moisture and entering its tissues. The plant then breaks these compounds down, transforming them into less harmful substances or incorporating them into its structure. The air becomes cleaner, softer, gentler with each breath the forest takes. Even ground-level ozone, a major pollutant in urban areas, is reduced when it comes into contact with the surface of a leaf. Tiny reactions occur silently on the leaf's surface, neutralizing chemicals that irritate human lungs. Beneath the forest floor, roots and microbes continue the purification process. Soil acts like a sponge, absorbing pollutants carried in water or air. Microorganisms break down harmful substances, using them for nourishment or rendering them inert. Even heavy metals can become trapped in soil or taken up by plant tissues where they pose less danger to the surrounding environment. The cycle between roots, soil, and fungi creates a hidden filtration system that works in harmony with the leaves above. What we see on the surface, trees reaching toward the sky, is only half the story. Beneath our feet lies a vast network that cleans the world quietly, patiently, and thoroughly. The structure of a forest also contributes to its cleansing power. When air enters a dense stand of trees, it slows down. The branches disrupt the wind, forcing the air to linger and swirl among the leaves. This slower movement allows more particles to settle onto surfaces or be absorbed, The longer the air stays within the forest, the cleaner it becomes. In this way, forests act like natural lungs, not only because they exchange gases, but because they gently guide the air through a maze of purification, giving themselves time to work. Even the moisture released by trees through transpiration plays a role in air quality. As water vapor rises from leaves, it increases humidity slightly, helping to settle dust and cleanse the air. This process also cools the surrounding atmosphere, reducing the formation of some pollutants that thrive in hotter, drier conditions. The air feels fresh, not only because it is richer in oxygen, but because it holds fewer irritants. The forest creates a space where breathing feels easier and where each inhale carries with it a sense of calm. Some trees emit natural compounds called phytoncides, fragrant molecules that protect them from insects and pathogens. These compounds drift into the air, giving forests their distinctive scents: the sharp tang of pine, the gentle spice of cedar, the bright sweetness of eucalyptus. When humans inhale phytoncides, our bodies respond in subtle ways. Stress hormones decrease, heart rate steadies, immune function can improve. These benefits are not merely psychological. They are part of a chemical conversation between forests and those who walk within. To them, the air becomes not just cleaner, but more nurturing. In places where forests grow near cities, the impact is especially profound. Urban trees absorb pollution from traffic, factories, and construction. Streets lined with trees can significantly reduce airborne particles, making neighborhoods healthier. Parks become islands of clean air in the midst of concrete and steel. Even a small cluster of trees can influence the air for blocks around it, reminding us that nature's breath does not require vast wilderness to make a difference. Every leaf contributes. Every branch offers something back to the sky. The purification performed by forests is not loud or urgent. It is steady, continuous, and deeply patient. A tree does not rush to clean the air. It simply breathes, as it has for centuries, drawing in what it needs and releasing what it can offer. This effortless exchange is a lesson in balance, giving and receiving in equal measure, sustaining life without strain or haste. If you close your eyes now and imagine standing in a forest, feel the air moving softly around you. Imagine the leaves trembling with the weight of particles they have captured. Imagine each inhale filling your lungs with oxygen released moments ago from 1,000 green breathers. Imagine the forest accepting your exhale, using the carbon dioxide you release as nourishment, turning it into sugar and growth. There is a quiet reciprocity here, a communion between your breath and the forests. You are part of its cycle, welcomed and supported without question. As you drift into rest, let the thought of this slow, cleansing breath soothe your mind. Imagine the forest exhaling cool, pure air, wrapping around you like a comforting blanket. Feel the gentle rhythm of your own breath aligning with the trees. Inhale, exhale, each one steady and soft. Nature asks for so little, yet gives so much. And tonight, as you settle deeper into calm, you can carry the forest's breath with you, patient, renewing, and endlessly peaceful. 12 roots that sense the pull of gravity. Beneath the soft carpet of fallen leaves, beneath the topsoil warmed by sunlight and caressed by rain, there lies a world of quiet determination. Roots, hidden from our view, perform one of the most remarkable feats in nature. They know where to grow, without eyes, without ears, without the ability to see the horizon or feel the breeze. They navigate downward with unwavering certainty, drawn by a whispering force that guides every seed from its first moment of waking. This force, gentle, constant, and ancient, is gravity. Tonight, as we sink deeper into stillness, we journey into the quiet life below the surface, where roots listen to the earth and follow its pull with grace. When a seed cracks open, it faces a choice. Part of it pushes upward, seeking light. Another part, the root, begins a slow descent into darkness. This choice is not random. The root senses gravity through specialized cells located in its tip. Inside these cells are tiny, dense particles, known as statoliths. They drift downward with the pull of gravity, settling at the bottom of the cell like grains of sand drifting to the lowest point in a still pond. Their position signals to the root which direction is down, and the root responds by growing in that direction with quiet precision. This process, called gravitropism, feels almost like magic, yet it unfolds through a gentle interplay of physics and biology. The root tip is a place of constant awareness. Though small and delicate, it houses the growth zone, where new cells are produced and tissues extend. As the statoliths settle, they trigger chemical signals that tell the cells on one side of the root to elongate faster than those on the other, curving the root downward. It is a subtle dance, a kind of listening that unfolds with patience. Even if the seed is placed sideways or upside down, the root will always find its way toward the center of the earth. Gravity becomes a compass, a steady guide that never wavers, allowing the plant to anchor itself in the soil. As the root grows longer, it encounters countless obstacles: stones, compacted earth, air pockets, and the tangled roots of neighboring plants. Yet it navigates these challenges with remarkable sensitivity. The root tip exerts gentle pressure, testing the soil ahead. When it meets resistance, it changes direction, curving around rocks, slipping through narrow gaps, or dividing into smaller rootlets that explore alternative paths. This exploration is slow, almost imperceptible, but incredibly effective. Over time, a single root may weave through the soil in patterns that resemble rivers, branching and bending in response to what it feels. Roots do not merely grow downward, they sense moisture, nutrients, temperature, and the presence of other roots. And yet gravity remains their first guide, the signal that sets their journey in motion. Without gravity's steady pull, plants lose their sense of direction. In the weightless environment of space, roots grow in chaotic patterns, extending in curves and spirals instead of straight paths. Scientists have observed that in microgravity, roots rely more heavily on chemical gradients and touch, but the certainty they possess on Earth is missing. Gravity gives them clarity, a gentle anchor that shapes their entire architecture. As roots descend, they form intricate networks beneath the soil. From the main root, smaller lateral roots emerge, and from those, even finer root hairs extend. These hair-like structures are incredibly thin, sometimes only a few cells wide, yet they play a vital role in absorbing water and nutrients. Each hair increases the surface area of the root system, allowing the plant to gather life-sustaining resources with delicate efficiency. These tiny threads, though fragile, sense moisture gradients in the soil, growing toward wetter areas, much like a person instinctively moves toward warmth on a cool night. While gravity guides the overall direction, moisture guides the fine details. The deeper roots grow, the more they encounter layers of soil shaped by centuries of rainfall, wind, and organic decay. Some layers are soft and rich with nutrients, while others are dense and heavy, difficult for roots to penetrate. But the root persists. With each cell division, it pushes gently forward, its tip protected by a root cap, a layer of slippery cells that reduces friction and shields the sensitive tissues behind it. This root cap secretes mucilage, a gelatinous substance that lubricates the soil, easing the root's passage. It is a quiet partnership between plant and earth, each movement slow and deliberate. Gravity plays a role even when roots branch. When a root splits into two or more paths, Each branch senses the pull of the earth independently. This ensures that even if one branch encounters an obstacle, another may continue downward. Over time, the root system spreads widely, anchoring the plant firmly, while also reaching great depths. Some trees have roots that extend several meters deep, tapping into hidden reservoirs of groundwater. Others spread horizontally across great distances, forming networks that stabilize entire forest floors. In each case, gravity remains the silent guide that shapes their paths. Roots also respond to gravity in more subtle ways. When soil becomes saturated with water, roots slow their downward growth to avoid areas where oxygen is scarce. Instead, they spread horizontally or upward, seeking air-rich pockets. Some plants even send roots toward the surface when flooding occurs, creating specialized structures that allow them to breathe. In mangrove forests, for instance, roots rise above the water like slender fingers, pulling oxygen from the air to sustain the tree. Even here, gravity plays a role, defining the waterline, the soil density, and the environment the roots must navigate. Beneath the forest floor, roots from different plants often meet. Sometimes they compete, sometimes they coexist, and sometimes they fuse together, forming connections that allow them to share nutrients. Through these connections, a tree with deep roots may support a sapling during hard times, passing along minerals or water. Gravity helps define these interactions by shaping the depth and direction of each root's growth. Without gravity's steady downward pull, such networks would be chaotic, lacking the stability and symmetry that allow forests to thrive. The soil itself responds to gravity, settling into layers that roots must interpret. Water moves downward through these layers, carrying minerals in its wake. Roots sense this movement and adjust, growing toward the gentle pull of moisture, guided by the same force that shapes rivers and mountains. Even the shapes of hills and valleys influence root growth, as gravity guides water flow, nutrient distribution, and soil texture. In this way, roots do not merely follow gravity, they read the landscape it creates. If you imagine yourself moving through the earth, as a root does, you might feel the slow descent, the gentle tug, the soft pressure of soil on all sides. You would sense the coolness increasing as you move deeper, the darkness becoming complete, and the silence settling like a blanket around you. In that stillness, gravity would be your guide, steady and unchanging. You would navigate, not with sight or sound, but with touch, pressure, and instinct, a kind of quiet trust in the direction life has given you. Roots remind us that growth does not always reach upward. Sometimes the most important progress is made in the unseen depths, where stability is found, where nourishment gathers, where foundations are formed. Gravity's gentle pull teaches plants to anchor themselves first, to build strength before reaching for the sky. It is a lesson that echoes in our own lives, that grounding is essential for growth, that stillness supports movement, and that reaching downward into reflection, into quiet, into the deeper parts of ourselves can prepare us for heights yet unseen. As you drift toward rest tonight, imagine roots spreading beneath you, steady and calm. Feel the gentle weight of gravity, the same force that guides every seed, every leaf, every tree. Let that sense of grounding settle into your thoughts, holding you in a soft embrace. There is no rush in the way roots grow, no urgency, only patience, direction, and trust in the quiet pull that guides them. Let that same stillness guide you now, as you sink gently into the comfort of the earth's ancient rhythm. 13 trees that migrate. Across centuries, across the surface of the earth, forests appear steady, rooted, unmoving. A grove of oaks may seem to stand in the same quiet spot for hundreds of years, A line of pines on a mountainside may look as though it has always been there, as though time passes around them but never through them. Yet beneath our assumptions of stillness, trees are always moving, not in sudden strides or sweeping migrations like animals, but in a slow, patient drift across landscapes and centuries. They shift their ranges, climb mountains, spread across valleys, retreat from warming plains, and advance toward cooler horizons. Their migration is so slow it becomes invisible to the human eye. Yet, over generations, it reshapes the green boundaries of entire continents. Tonight, as you settle into calm, let us drift alongside this ancient movement, exploring how trees wander across time. A tree itself does not walk. Its roots anchor it firmly to the soil, and its trunk rises where its seed first sprouted. But its offspring, its seeds, are travelers. They ride on the wind, float down rivers, cling to the feathers of birds, or hide within the fur of passing animals. Some are carried by ocean currents, drifting across vast expanses of water before washing ashore in distant lands. Others are spread by humans, intentionally or unknowingly, planted beside homes or roads, or carried in pockets, only to germinate in new territories. Each seed becomes a step in a journey parent tree will never see. A movement that unfolds not through individual motion, but through generational flow. This slow migration is shaped by climate. When temperatures rise, trees that once thrived in cooler regions begin to struggle. Their seedlings, more sensitive to heat and drought, fail in the harsher environment. But farther north, or higher on a mountain slope, new territory becomes welcoming. Seeds that travel into these areas find conditions more suitable, and seedlings begin to grow where the species never existed before. Over centuries, the forest shifts, the boundary moves. Trees migrate, though none ever uproot themselves. Their movement is collective, unfolding leaf by leaf, seed by seed. In the far north, where cold winds flow across tundra and taiga, this migration is especially clear. As the climate warms, spruce and birch begin to colonize areas once held by permafrost. Their seeds drift into newly thawed soil, and young trees rise where none grew for thousands of years. The tree line, an invisible boundary between forest and open land, creeps northward, following the gradual warming of the planet. This shift is so slow you could stand in the same spot for a lifetime and never notice change. Yet over centuries, the map will reveal forest, where once there was only frozen earth. Mountains tell a similar story. Their slopes act like timelines of climate. The lower elevations are warm and fertile, supporting lush vegetation. Higher up, the air grows thinner and cooler, shaping a different suite of plants. Trees on mountainsides respond not only to the passage of years, but to the subtle change in altitude that feels like the passing of seasons. When the world warms, trees migrate upward. Their seeds travel on breezes or drop into cracks in the rock where meltwater gathers. Over generations, forests climb the slopes, rising meter by meter as though the mountains themselves are moving beneath them. Trees that once stood near the base may one day find their descendants thriving near the crest. Some trees migrate through rivers. Seeds of certain species are buoyant, enclosed in husks that trap air. When they fall into a stream, they drift downstream like tiny boats, carried into new regions. Mangroves, for instance, release seeds that can float on ocean currents for months, traveling across saltwater expanses until they lodge in soft coastal mud. There, the seed begins to grow, sending its roots downward like anchors and lifting its leaves upward toward the sun. Entire forests of mangroves can arise from such drifting seeds, expanding their reach across continents, reshaping coastlines with their wandering offspring. Animals play their own gentle role in this migration. Birds eat berries, and fly great distances before depositing the seeds in new places. Bears, wolves, deer, and countless other creatures carry seeds in their fur or in their stomachs, becoming participants in the forest's long journey. Even small creatures, mice, squirrels, ants, move seeds short distances, planting them unknowingly in places where they might sprout. The movement may be tiny, just a few meters at a time, but over generations, it becomes part of the forest's quiet migration. Every creature that touches a seed becomes part of a story unfolding over centuries. Not all migrations are toward cooler climates. In places once too cold for certain species, warming temperatures open new possibilities. Trees that once clung to narrow coastal ranges may spread inland. Species that thrived only in temperate zones may venture into boreal forests. The rhythm of rainfall also shapes these shifts. As precipitation patterns change, trees follow the moisture. Their seeds flourish where water gathers, where soil stays soft, where life can take hold. Dry regions push forests away, wet regions draw them back. It is a slow dance between tree and climate, a conversation written in growth and retreat. Yet migration is not always a sign of expansion. Sometimes it is a quiet retreat, a gentle pulling back from conditions that have grown too harsh. In some parts of the world, drought pushes trees uphill or northward. Heat shrinks the range of species once abundant. Seeds fail to germinate in areas where they once grew easily. Over time, the forest shifts like a shadow moving across the ground, not by choice, but by the gentle persuasion of changing winds, temperatures, and soil. In ancient times, before roads and cities carved the land into shapes unfamiliar to young forests, trees migrated freely across continents. When glaciers covered large parts of the northern hemisphere, many species retreated southward, finding refuge in warmer pockets. As the ice melted, they moved north again, reclaiming territories they had lost during the cold. The rings inside ancient trees record these movements in subtle patterns of growth, years of expansion, years of retreat, all shaped by the climate the tree experienced. In this way, forests remember migrations long past, carrying echoes of ancient journeys. Today, human influence shapes migration in new ways. Forests near cities often shift as species adapted to urban environments thrive and spread. Trees planted in parks, gardens, and along roadsides contribute to new patterns of movement. Some non-native species travel quickly, spreading through landscapes not originally their own. Others struggle to migrate at all because their pathways are blocked by development. In these places, forests rely even more heavily on the gentle help of wind, animals, and water to continue their slow drift. If you imagine the Earth over many centuries, forests ripple across its surface like currents of green water. They flow upward, downward, northward, southward, shaped by wind, shaped by rain, shaped by the memory of their seeds. They are not static monuments, but living travelers, carried by the quiet footsteps of countless generations. And yet, despite this deep movement, each tree remains rooted in its moment. A seed falls, a sprout emerges, roots anchor, leaves unfurl. The tree stands in one place, but its descendants walk across the land. This is the paradox of trees. They are still, and yet they wander. They appear unmoving, yet they travel farther than many creatures ever will. Tonight, as you ease into rest, imagine this slow migration. Picture forests shifting gently across the world, like great green tides rising and falling with the centuries. Imagine seeds carried on wind, on water, on the backs of birds, drifting to new homes where they will take root. Imagine a sapling growing in a place its ancestors never knew, its leaves touching air that once flowed over empty ground. Feel the calm that comes from such slow, patient movement. You, too, move through time in ways that feel still, yet are always changing. You grow, shift, adapt, and become new with each passing year. Just like the forests, your path unfolds not in leaps, but in quiet steps. Let that gentle truth cradle your thoughts, guiding you into a rest as patient as the trees themselves, drifting peacefully across centuries. 14 plants that create their own light maps. Within every leaf, even the smallest and most delicate, there unfolds a quiet choreography that we cannot see with the naked eye. It is a dance of tiny green structures, adjusting their positions throughout the day, responding to shifting patterns of light with extraordinary sensitivity. These movements happen so slowly, so gracefully, that they appear like stillness to us. But inside the leaf, there is motion, steady, purposeful, ancient. Plants are constantly arranging and rearranging their inner world, creating their own light maps to guide the flow of energy. As you drift gently into calm tonight, let us wander softly into this microcosm, discovering how plants shape their internal landscapes to harmonize with the sun. At the heart of this gentle dance are chloroplasts, the green organelles responsible for capturing sunlight and converting it into energy. Each chloroplast is like a tiny solar panel suspended within the cells of a leaf. But unlike rigid panels fixed in place, these chloroplasts move. They shift, glide, and gather in patterns that respond to the brightness and direction of sunlight. When illumination is soft, such as in morning light or under a clouded sky, chloroplasts spread themselves across the inner surface of cells, forming a thin layer that absorbs as much light as possible. It is their way of opening up, of inviting the sun to enter. This arrangement maximizes photosynthesis, allowing the plant to capture energy efficiently during gentle hours. But when sunlight becomes bright and intense, chloroplasts retreat. They cluster along the sides of the cell walls, forming thin lines of green rather than broad sheets. This protective posture helps them avoid excessive light, which can damage their delicate machinery. It is like stepping into the shade on a hot afternoon, not fleeing from the sun entirely, but adjusting position to find a safer, more comfortable place. The plant never stops gathering light. It simply gathers it more wisely. This movement, called chloroplast photorelocation, forms an invisible map within the leaf, guiding each chloroplast to where it can thrive without harm. These inner migrations are driven by tiny filaments called actin, part of the plant's cytoskeleton, the framework that gives the cell its shape. Actin filaments act like microscopic pathways or rails, guiding chloroplasts smoothly through the cell's interior. When light touches a leaf, receptors on the surface send signals inward, prompting the actin filaments to reorganize. The chloroplasts then glide along these shifting tracks, settling into new patterns. It is a form of communication so subtle, so silent, that it unfolds like a whisper, guiding the leaf's response with elegance. Because chloroplasts respond to light direction, they form complex maps throughout the day. In early morning, when the sun slants low across the horizon, chloroplasts shift to face the incoming angle. As the sun rises higher, they rearrange again, adapting to the changing arc. This constant movement helps the plant maintain an optimal balance between absorption and protection. If you could watch a leaf under a high-powered microscope for several hours, this dance would appear like gentle waves, green particles drifting toward and away from the light in a rhythm shaped by the sky. This invisible mapping is not simply about energy capture, it is also about survival. Too much light can overwhelm the photosynthetic machinery, creating reactive molecules that damage cells. Too little light starves the plant of energy. Chloroplast movement ensures the plant stays within a narrow window of ideal conditions. It is as though each leaf holds a built-in wisdom, adjusting in ways that preserve its health without needing a mind or a voice. The map created by chloroplasts is fluid, shifting moment by moment, ensuring the plant remains in harmony with its environment. Beyond chloroplasts, plants create other kinds of light maps as well. Within the veins of a leaf, fluids move in patterns influenced by the intensity of sunlight. When the sun brightens, the leaf increases the flow of water to cool itself, much like perspiration cools human skin. This water movement forms another map, a dynamic pattern of internal rivers that respond to heat and light. As the light fades toward evening, these flows subside, settling into calmer currents. The leaf becomes a landscape shaped by invisible weather, guided by the changing light of the day. Some plants use pigments to influence their inner light environment. Anthocyanins, the molecules responsible for red and purple hues, act like tiny filters that soften harsh sunlight. They allow plants to control the quality of light entering their tissues, shaping the internal map of illumination. In new leaves and young shoots, where tissues are tender, these pigments are especially abundant. They paint the leaves in soft reds and purples, offering a shield from intense rays. Over time, as the leaf strengthens, the pigments fade, revealing the green below. The map shifts again, adapting to the life stage of the plant. In certain species, light maps extend beyond individual leaves. Sunflowers, during their youth, orient their flower heads to track the sun across the sky, aligning themselves to capture maximum light. But this movement is also influenced by the internal mapping of hormones auxins that shift in concentration depending on light exposure. These internal gradients act like coordinates, guiding the plant's growth toward the brightest direction. Even after the plant stops tracking the sun in adulthood, this early alignment shapes its development, positioning the flower to warm quickly at sunrise and attract pollinators with morning warmth. Light guides not just movement, but destiny. Deep within forest understories, where light is scarce and filtered, plants create even more delicate maps. They adjust their leaves to catch narrow beams of sunlight that slip between branches overhead. Chloroplasts cluster into tight formations during these brief moments of illumination, capturing every possible photon. When the light shifts again, they disperse, settling into low-light positions. In such places, the entire life of a plant depends on reading these fleeting signals with precision. Its internal map becomes a testament to patience, responding to the smallest gifts of light with gratitude. In aquatic plants, this mapping takes on a fluid quality. Underwater, light shifts with the surface currents and the clarity of the water. Chloroplasts move constantly, adjusting not only to brightness but to color. As water absorbs different wavelengths, these plants become painters of their inner world, arranging chloroplasts in patterns that match the ever-changing tones of the underwater sun. Even at night, when darkness settles over leaves, the map does not disappear. Chloroplasts shift once more, aligning themselves in a protective arrangement. They gather in positions that prepare them for the next sunrise. Like travelers, resting before a long journey, the internal light map becomes a memory of the day, shaping the readiness of the plant for the cycle to begin again. If you imagine shrinking yourself down to the size of a cell and drifting inside a leaf, you might see chloroplasts glowing softly in their green light, gliding along the actin threads like small boats floating on a calm river. You would see rivers of water flowing through veins, pigments forming soft canopies, and the entire architecture of the leaf shifting gently with the passing light. It would feel like wandering through a dream, fluid, quiet, purposeful. As you ready yourself for rest, imagine your thoughts becoming like chloroplasts, finding their own gentle places within your mind's inner landscape. Imagine them shifting softly away from the intensity of the day's light, settling into calmer, safer spaces, just as leaves do when evening comes. Let your inner world create its own map of rest, one that guides you toward peace, with the same quiet wisdom that guides plants toward the sun. In the stillness of night, allow yourself to drift gently along these invisible maps, moving slowly, settling deeply, and finding comfort in the soft, green intelligence of the plant world. 15 seeds that wait for the perfect moment. A seed, at first glance, seems like the simplest of things, a small, quiet object, often no larger than a grain of sand, tucked within the folds of a fruit or hidden beneath the earth. Yet inside each seed rests a world of possibility. It is a tiny cradle holding the blueprint for an entire plant, a living memory condensed into a form so small you could hold dozens in your palm without feeling their weight. But more remarkable than what a seed contains is what it chooses to do: to wait. For days, weeks, seasons, or even centuries, seeds rest in stillness, preserving their inner life until the moment is right. As you ease into calm tonight, let us journey into this hushed realm where time slows and growth begins only when the world gently invites it. A seed is not simply asleep, it is suspended. Within its hard shell lies an embryo held in a state of elegant pause. The seed breathes very slowly, consuming only the barest whisper of energy. Its coat protects it from cold, from dryness, from heat, from darkness, and from the vast uncertainties of the world. This dormancy is not a sign of weakness, but of extraordinary resilience. It allows the seed to resist moments that would overwhelm a growing plant: harsh winters, scorching summers, the passing hunger of animals, or long months without rain. Wrapped in this small, protective shell, the prebreda seed is patient. It listens with senses we cannot see, waiting for a signal carried by warmth, by water, or by time itself. Some seeds wake quickly. When spring rains soften the soil and sunlight warms the ground, they absorb moisture, swell, and split open. The embryo inside stirs to life, sending out its first root in a gesture both delicate and determined. But many seeds are far more cautious. They require more than moisture to begin their journey. They wait for cues that tell them not just that conditions are good, but that they are truly right. Some seeds need the chill of winter before they will sprout. They wait for the slow descent of temperature, the cold that slips through soil and quiets the landscape. This cold period triggers changes inside the seed, breaking down chemicals that prevent germination. Only after the cold has passed, after the seed has endured the long, soft silence of winter, will it awaken when spring returns. This strategy protects the seed from sprouting during a warm spell in autumn or early winter, when an early shoot would be destroyed by frost. The seed's patience becomes its survival. Other seeds require heat, not cold. In fire-adapted ecosystems, certain species wait for flames to pass overhead. Their coats are so hard that only the intense heat of a wildfire can crack them open. When flames clear the land of old underbrush and release nutrients back into the soil, these seeds seize the opportunity. They push their roots into the newly enriched earth, rising into a landscape reborn. In this way, fire becomes a signal of renewal, and seeds become keepers of the forest's future. Some seeds respond to water in unusual ways. In deserts, certain plants produce seeds that remain dormant for years, sometimes decades, waiting for a rare rainfall. When enough moisture finally arrives to soak the ground deeply, the seeds sense the abundance and awaken together. Entire hillsides can burst into bloom after long periods of dryness. Each flower the result of seeds that have waited silently through seasons of drought. They had no guarantee of rain, yet they held on, storing life within themselves until the sky opened. Other seeds wait for sunlight, not the faint filtered light beneath a dense canopy, but the bright open light that follows disturbance. These seeds lie buried in the soil, sometimes meters below the dene surface, surviving for centuries until a tree falls or the ground is disturbed. When sunlight finally penetrates the soil, they stir awake. Such seeds are guardians of ecological succession, emerging only when the time is right to reclaim open spaces. Animals help shape the timing as well. Many fruits rely on creatures to carry their seeds far from the parent plant. The seeds pass through digestive systems, softened by enzymes, their dormancy broken by the journey. In this way, seeds awaken only after they have been carried to new ground, giving them a better chance to thrive. Some seeds must be scarred by the rough tongues of grazing animals or scraped by the beaks of birds before they can sprout. Others wait for insects to bury them, protecting them from predators and giving them a cool, safe place to rest. Then there are seeds that wait in darkness. Buried deep beneath layers of earth, they may lie dormant for centuries. Archaeologists have discovered seeds thousands of years old, some preserved in clay pots, others in ancient tombs that still sprout when given warmth and water. One of the most famous examples is the Judean date palm. A seed found in a 2,000-year-old jar was planted and grew into a healthy tree, connecting the present with the distant past through the quiet patience of its waiting. Inside every seed, chemicals act like tiny clocks. Some compounds prevent germination until they have been washed away by rain. Others degrade slowly over time, allowing the seed to wake only after months or years have passed. This pacing ensures that seeds do not sprout all at once. Even seeds from the same plant may germinate in different years, spreading risk across generations. In harsh environments, this strategy ensures survival, even if one year brings poor conditions. The seeds themselves become storytellers of time, each one choosing its moment with quiet wisdom. When the right moment finally arrives, the seed's awakening is gentle. Water enters through tiny pores, softening the seed coat. The embryo swells, absorbing water like a sponge. Enzymes activate, converting stored starches into sugars. The seed begins to breathe faster. Pressure builds. Eventually, the seed coat cracks not with violence, but with a slow, deliberate release. The root emerging first is a gesture of trust, reaching downward into the unknown darkness of the soil. Soon, a shoot rises upward, guided by the faint sensation of light. In a matter of days, what was once still begins to move, growing steadily toward the sky. This transformation is miraculous not because it is rare, but because it happens constantly, quietly, all around us. Millions of seeds awaken each year in forests, fields, mountains, and gardens. Each one chooses its moment with care. Each one transforms from stillness into growth, from waiting into becoming. And in their patience, seeds teach us something profound, that timing matters, that rest is part of growth, that pausing is not the absence of progress, but the preparation for it. If you close your eyes now and imagine seeds resting beneath the soil, you might sense their quiet energy, the potential they carry like a soft glow. You might picture them nestled in the dark earth, listening for rain, feeling the shift of seasons, waiting without hurry. Feel how their patience matches the slow rhythm of your own breaths. Feel how they trust the world to give them the right moment. They do not rush. They do not force. They simply wait until the universe whispers that it is time. As you drift gently into sleep tonight, let yourself be like a seed safe, resting, held in stillness. Let your mind settle into patience, knowing that growth will come when the moment is right. There is no need to push or strive. Like seeds resting in the quiet dark, you are preparing for your next becoming. And in this peaceful pause, you are exactly where you need to be. 16. The symmetry hidden in leaves. If you were to pick up a single leaf and hold it gently between your fingers, you might see only its surface, its color, its shape, its delicate veins branching like the paths of tiny rivers. But beneath this simple exterior lies a quiet order, a mathematical poetry shaped over millions of years. Leaves are not random. They are expressions of symmetry, spirals, and patterns that echo the structure of galaxies, the branching of rivers, and the swirl of seashells. They hold within them the deep logic of nature, expressed softly through form and function. Tonight, as you settle deeper into rest, let us drift into this world of natural geometry, slow, calm, and endlessly elegant, where leaves reveal the hidden patterns of life. When a leaf begins to form, it does so in the very heart of a plant's growing tip, a region where new cells divide and stretch. In that tiny space, smaller than the head of a pin, a pattern emerges, one that will shape the entire leaf. This pattern is guided by gradients of growth hormones, by the flow of nutrients, and by the gentle push and pull, expanding tissues. The leaf begins as a small bump, then elongates, widens, and unfurls with a symmetry so subtle it seems like the work of a careful hand. But no hand guides it, only the quiet instructions encoded in its cells and the soft physics of its unfolding. Many leaves are bilaterally symmetrical. If you drew a line down their center, one half would mirror the other. This symmetry helps the leaf capture sunlight evenly, allowing it to balance light absorption and cooling. It ensures that the veins branch in predictable patterns, moving water efficiently to every cell. Yet even within this symmetry, there is variation. A leaf is never a perfect mirror. One side may be slightly wider, one vein slightly longer, one edge slightly more curved. These tiny imperfections give each leaf a unique identity, a reminder that nature's patterns are alive and dynamic, not rigid or mechanical. If you look closely at the veins in a leaf, you will see a branching network that resembles the structure of a tree, or the branching of lightning, or the blood vessels in your own body. This network is called venation, and it follows principles that appear throughout nature. Small veins branch from larger ones, dividing repeatedly into finer and finer threads. This fractal-like pattern allows nutrients and water to reach every corner of the leaf efficiently. The larger veins provide support, like the beams of a bridge, while the smaller ones ensure that photosynthesis can occur evenly across the leaf's surface. It is a perfect blend of strength and delicacy. Fractals are shapes that repeat themselves at different scales. You see them in the curls of ferns, the outline of coastlines, and the patterns of frost on window panes. Leaves, too, follow fractal principles. The branching veins mimic the branching of twigs, which mimic the branching of branches, which mimic the branching of entire trees. This repetition creates a sense of unity, each part of the tree reflecting the whole, each leaf containing a miniature echo of the larger organism. When you hold a leaf in a quiet way, you hold the blueprint of the tree itself. The arrangement of leaves along a stem also follows patterns, many of which involve the Fibonacci sequence, a series of numbers found everywhere in nature. Shells, hurricanes, sunflowers, pine cones, and galaxies. In this sequence, each number is the sum of the two before it. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and so on. Plants often place their leaves at angles that approximate ratios derived from these numbers. This spacing allows each leaf to capture sunlight without shading its neighbors. It is a quiet, elegant mathematics that helps the plant thrive, expressed in spirals so subtle we often fail to notice them. In some plants, leaves emerge in perfect spirals around the stem, forming patterns that mirror the swirl of water down a drain or the rotation of stars in a galaxy. These spirals are not simply beautiful, they maximize efficiency, ensuring that each leaf receives the light it needs. Sunflowers, aloe plants, and many succulents display these spirals clearly, their leaves arranged like steps on a gentle staircase winding around the stem. But even plants that appear irregular often follow these mathematical rules, their leaves placed in angles that harmonize with the flow of growth hormones and sunlight. Patterns in leaves extend beyond their shape and placement. The surfaces of leaves often carry microscopic structures that reflect symmetry and order. Some leaves are covered with tiny hairs that help protect them from cold, pests, or water loss. Others have waxy coatings arranged in repeating patterns that repel water, causing droplets to bead and roll away like pearls. These structures often follow hexagonal or circular arrangements, geometries that balance efficiency with strength. Even the way leaves fold and unfold can reflect symmetry. When a young leaf is still a bud, it often folds in predictable ways, like a piece of paper prepared for origami. As it grows, it unfurls along predetermined lines, revealing its final shape. This unfolding is not random. It follows the flow of water, pressure inside the cells, the distribution of growth hormones, and the geometry of the leaf's structure. The result is a leaf that opens gracefully, its edges smoothing out as if under the hand of an unseen artist. Color patterns in leaves also follow symmetrical and mathematical principles. Variegated leaves, with patches of white, yellow, or red, often display repeating motifs, spots, stripes, or marbled textures that mirror the distribution of pigments within the cells. These pigments follow chemical gradients shaped by the plant's genetic instructions, creating patterns that can be striking or subtle. Some leaves display symmetry in their coloration, with mirrored patterns across the midrib. Others carry stripes that follow the lines of veins, echoing the structure beneath. Leaves that change color in autumn reveal another form of symmetry. As chlorophyll breaks down, other pigments, carotenoids, anthocyanins emerge in balanced patterns, often matching the leaf's underlying veins and structure. The fading green reveals the architecture beneath, turning the leaf into a soft, colorful map of its own inner systems. The symmetry in leaves is not only visual, it is functional. It shapes how the leaf interacts with water, how it regulates temperature, how it resists wind. A symmetrical leaf balances itself, avoiding tears and damage. Its veins distribute tension evenly, much like the ribs of a wing. When a breeze moves through a tree, leaves flicker and sway in patterns shaped by their geometry, ensuring that the force of the wind is distributed gently, without overwhelming any single point. If you imagine yourself shrinking down to the size of a water droplet resting on a leaf, you would see its structure in astonishing detail. You would see tiny ridges arranged like rows of shingles guiding water into beads. You would see networks of veins stretching beneath you like miniature highways. You would see the leaf surface shimmering with microscopic crystals of wax, reflecting sunlight in symmetrical patterns. It would feel like walking across a tiny landscape of repeating shapes, each one purposeful, each one part of a greater whole. As you drift into calm tonight, imagine the symmetry of leaves surrounding you like a soft green blanket. Picture the delicate veins branching in peaceful patterns, the edges curving gently, spirals forming around stems. Let your thoughts mirror this quiet order. Let your mind arrange itself like a leaf unfolding, balanced, calm, and harmonious. In the gentle geometry of the plant world, there is comfort. There is stillness. There is the reminder that nature moves with purpose and grace, shaping everything, even the smallest leaf, with a quiet and elegant intelligence. Let that symmetry guide you now, easing you toward rest, like a leaf settling into the soft embrace of night. 17 trees that speak through scent, in the stillness of a forest, where sunlight filters through. Branches like soft threads of gold. It is easy to imagine silence as the dominant language. Trees stand quietly. Leaves flutter softly. Branches sway in gentle rhythms shaped by wind and time. Yet beneath this calm exterior, a kind of conversation unfolds, one without sound, one carried not by words or voices, but by invisible signals drifting through the air. Trees speak, softly and constantly, using scent as their language. It is a form of communication older than speech, written in molecules that float through the forest like whispered messages. Tonight, as your breath slows and your thoughts ease into quiet, let us drift into this subtle world where trees share warnings, comfort, and companionship through the graceful chemistry of the air. Every leaf contains a library of chemicals. These compounds serve many roles. Some protect the leaf from sunlight, some deter insects, some attract pollinators, and others signal stress. When a tree is touched, bitten, or shaken, its cells respond by producing specialized molecules known as volatile organic compounds. These molecules, light enough to drift on the breeze, rise into the air like tiny messengers, though we cannot see them. The forest can. Neighboring trees detect these signals through receptors in their leaves. A message travels from tree to tree, carried on the soft currents of air that weave through the canopy. Imagine for a moment a caterpillar landing on the leaf of an oak as it begins to feed, chewing gently through the soft tissue. The tree's cells respond to the wound. Within minutes, they release a blend of scent molecules that float upward and outward. These scents tell other parts of the tree to prepare. They also drift across the forest, reaching nearby oaks. The neighbors smell these signals and begin to alter their chemistry, producing bitter compounds that make their leaves less appealing. Without making a sound, the trees warn one another. It is as though the forest breathes a collective sigh of caution, each leaf adjusting itself in response. This communication is not limited to pests. When drought begins to affect a tree, when soil dries and roots struggle to find water, the tree releases another suite of signals. These scents drift to nearby trees, prompting them to reduce their water loss by closing their stomata slightly or adjusting their growth. It is a kind of preparedness shared among neighbors, a community response shaped by molecules so subtle that even the softest breeze can carry them. Some trees produce scents that summon helpers. When attacked by insects, certain species release volatiles that attract the predators of those insects. A willow, under threat, may call in parasitic wasps that lay their eggs inside the caterpillars, causing the damage. A corn plant might signal for beetles that prey on pests, chewing at its roots. These interactions create a web of relationships, each thread woven through scent. Plants do not flee from danger, they summon allies, relying on the delicate chemistry of the air around them. Scent communication extends beyond danger. Trees also produce compounds that influence each other's growth. When a tree flourishes, it releases specific volatiles that reflect its health. Neighboring trees detect these signals and may adjust their own metabolism, synchronizing their rhythms with those around them. This creates a subtle harmony within the forest, a coordinated flow of growth shaped by shared molecules. Forests rich with diversity often contain trees that respond differently to scents. A pine may release signals that a nearby birch interprets in its own unique way. Some species ignore certain scents while reacting strongly to others. This diversity forms a kind of chemical chorus, a background atmosphere of molecular information that shifts throughout the day and across seasons. In the morning, the crisp air carries one signature. In the heat of afternoon, the blend changes. At night, the forest breathes more slowly, and the scents settle like soft layers upon the ground. Scent is also part of the forest's emotional landscape, if we can borrow such a word for the plant. The fragrance of pine needles warmed by sunlight, the sweetness of cedar, the spicy note of eucalyptus, the earthy scent of soil and leaf litter. All of these aromas carry meaning. They reflect the compounds trees release to protect themselves or to maintain their health. When we breathe them in, our bodies respond. Stress diminishes, muscles relax, our minds quiet. In a way, we become part of the forest's chemical conversation, receiving signals that trees use to soothe and balance themselves. These molecules, known as phytoncides, have been shown to calm the human nervous system, lowering heart rate and easing tension. When leaves release these scents, they are not trying to communicate with us, but we are fortunate to share in their language. The forest's chemical whispers, shaped by stress, growth, and the turning of seasons, become a balm for our senses. This is why walking beneath trees can feel like stepping into a gentle embrace. The air becomes a kind of medicine, crafted not by intention, but by the natural rhythms of plant life. As seasons shift, the scentscape of a forest changes. In spring, young leaves release fresh green fragrances rich in growth hormones and protective compounds. These scents signal renewal and awaken insects, pollinators, and microbes to the return of warmth. In summer, resins deepen, and trees release compounds that help cool themselves in the heat. In autumn, as pigments shift and chlorophyll fades, trees produce sweet, earthy volatiles that mingle with the aroma of fallen leaves. Winter brings a quieter scent, cold air, with faint notes of evergreen needles and stored resins. A hushed chemistry matching the stillness of the season. Even underground, roots engage in scent-like communication through chemicals dissolved in the soil. These root exudates guide the growth of neighboring plants, influence microbial communities, and shape the behavior of fungi. Through this subterranean chemistry, trees send signals, much like they do above ground, sending messages about nutrients, stress, or companionship. The air above and the soil below become two halves of a single language. When storms move through a forest, the air changes instantly. Raindrops strike leaves, releasing bursts of volatile compounds that were trapped on their surfaces. The forest comes alive with scent, fresh, woody, sweet, or sharp, depending on the species present. This release of petrichor, the earthy smell after rain, arises from compounds produced by soil bacteria, as well as oils released by plants. It is as though the storm shakes loose the forest's quiet words, turning them into a soft perfume that settles into the air. Some forests have such distinctive scent signatures that they feel like personalities. A redwood forest whispers with cool, spicy notes of tannins and fog-moistened bark. A pine forest carries the bright, resinous clarity of terpenes. A eucalyptus grove offers crisp, calming menthol-like molecules that clear the air like a breeze. These scents are not random, they are the forest, speaking its identity, exhaling its chemistry for all who wander through. If you imagine yourself standing in a forest now, close your eyes and breathe deeply. Imagine the molecules drifting into your lungs, the same molecules that trees use to communicate with one another. Imagine their soft messages, their gentle warnings, their invitations, and their reassurances. Feel how these scents soothe your thoughts, how they slow your heartbeat, how they wrap around you like soft threads of calm. In this moment, You are part of the forest's conversation, sharing breath with beings that speak not with sound, but with scent. Let this quiet chemistry guide you now, easing your mind into rest. Trees speak slowly, patiently, in a language that floats on the air. And tonight, as you breathe gently, you are listening in the softest, most peaceful way. 18. The memory of water within plants. If you watch a single drop of water travel across the surface of a leaf, you may see only a simple motion, a small bead rolling along a vein, glimmering in the light before falling gently to the ground. Yet inside every plant, water moves in paths that are far more intricate and more meaningful. It rises from the soil through narrow vessels, climbs against gravity, spreads across tissues, and evaporates into the air, carrying with it stories written in minerals, temperature, and time. In this quiet, constant flow, plants hold a kind of memory, a liquid record that shapes their response to the world. Tonight, as you drift more deeply into rest, let us wander into this subtle realm, where water becomes not only nourishment, but a quiet storyteller within the living. Green. Water begins its journey in the soil. There, among grains of sand and silt, it rests in tiny pockets, held lightly by the earth's embrace. As roots extend through the soil, root hairs, slender filaments, thinner than a strand of hair, reach toward the moisture, sensing gradients so faint they would seem impossible to detect. With each gentle contact, water flows into the root through osmosis, crossing membranes that regulate its passage with delicate precision. The moment water enters the root, it becomes part of the plant's inner world, beginning a journey shaped by intricate pathways and gentle forces. As water moves inward, it encounters the root's xylem, long, hollow vessels stacked end to end, like the sections of a bamboo flute. These vessels form an unbroken highway that carries water from root to leaf, a pathway that may span meters in tall trees. The movement of water through xylem is driven by tension created at the leaf surface, where water evaporates into the air. This evaporation, called transpiration, pulls water upward, creating a continuous flow. It is as though each leaf breathes out, and that breath pulls water behind it, linking every part of the plant in a single, rhythmic motion. This upward pull creates patterns within the water column. Minerals dissolved in the water, calcium, magnesium, potassium. Trace elements leave subtle signatures along the vessels. These minerals accumulate or diminish depending on the environment, the humidity, the temperature, and the health of the soil. In this way, the water inside a plant remembers where it has been. When water reaches the leaves, it carries these stories with it, allowing the plant to sense the conditions of its deeper environment. A sudden drop in mineral content may signal heavy rain. A sharp rise may indicate drought. These liquid signals help the plant adjust its growth, its stomatal openings, and even its chemical responses. Inside the leaf, water spreads into the mesophils, spongy layers of cells filled with tiny air pockets. These pockets hold moisture, like a delicate mist, absorbing and releasing water in a slow, steady exchange. As water evaporates from these cells, it cools the leaf, protecting it from heat. This cooling effect acts like a gentle memory of the air outside. On hot days, the leaf loses more water and thus cools itself more. On sicker, cooler days, it loses less. Through this feedback, water helps the plant sense and respond to its immediate environment. But water's memory is not limited to temperature. It also carries signals related to stress. When a plant experiences drought, certain chemicals accumulate in its roots. As water becomes scarce, these chemicals move upward with the limited flow, reaching the leaves and prompting them to close their stomata to conserve moisture. This hormonal signal, carried by water, allows the plant to adjust even before serious damage occurs. It is as though water whispers a warning, from the roots to the leaves. In times of plenty, water flows abundantly through the xylem, keeping tissues hydrated and expanding cells with gentle pressure. This pressure, known as turgor, is what gives leaves their firmness and flowers their delicate shape. When water is scarce, turgor drops and tissues soften or wilt. This shift is not simply a mechanical failure, it is a form of memory. A wilted leaf remembers the dryness of the air, the lightness of the soil, the need for caution. When water returns, the leaf lifts again, but the memory lingers, shaping the plant's future behavior. Some plants store water for long periods, creating reservoirs within their tissues. Succulents, for example, hold water within thick leaves or stems. This stored moisture carries the memory of past rains, allowing the plant to endure long, dry spells. The water inside a cactus may have fallen from the sky months ago, yet it remains within, sustaining the plant through heat and drought. In this stored water, the cactus holds time itself, a reservoir not just of moisture, but of history. Trees, too, store water. Within their trunks, certain layers act like sponges, absorbing and releasing water slowly. This stored moisture buffers the tree against sudden changes in the environment. After a heavy rain, the inner wood swells with new water, carrying nutrients upward. During dry spells, the stored water flows outward to keep the tree alive. In this slow exchange, the tree holds a memory of wet and dry seasons, allowing it to survive across decades, sometimes centuries. Water also carries signals between plants. In some ecosystems, roots of neighboring trees are connected through networks of fungi. These networks, called mycorrhizal webs, allow water and nutrients flow between individuals. When one tree experiences stress, such as drought or insect attack, chemical signals carried by water can travel through these fungal channels to warn others. In this way, water's memory becomes communal, shared across species and individuals. The forest becomes a single organism, linked by streams of moisture flowing beneath the soil. Even the sound of water moving within a tree carries information. During drought, the tension within the xylem becomes so great that small bubbles may form a process known as cavitation. These bubbles produce tiny popping sounds as they form or collapse. Though we usually cannot hear them without instruments, the plant senses these events. The formation of bubbles signals that water is becoming harder to pull upward, prompting the plant to adjust its physiology. It is another form of internal memory, shaped not by chemicals, but by sound and pressure. When water reaches the tips of leaves, it exits through stomata as vapor, entering the air and joining the atmosphere's gentle currents. Yet even this final step holds meaning. The rate of evaporation reflects the plant's health and the environment's comfort. Moist air slows evaporation. Dry air speeds it. In this way, the outside world flows back toward the plant through vapor, completing a cycle of information and memory that guides the plant's living rhythm. If you imagine yourself as a drop of water within a plant, you would travel through dark, narrow vessels, rising gently toward the light. You would pass through chambers where sunlight filters through cells, where heat shapes your movement, where minerals cling to your edges like soft dust. You would be part of a stream that remembers rainfalls, dry spells, cool mornings, and warm afternoons. You would whisper signals to leaves and roots, carrying information from one part of the plant to another. Water within plants is not simply fluid. It is connection. It is memory. It is a living thread that ties the soil to the sky, the past to the present, the root to the leaf. As you settle into rest tonight, imagine your own breath flowing, like this quiet stream, rising softly, falling gently, carrying the calm of the moment through your entire being. Let the memory of water soothe your thoughts, reminding you that everything moves at its own gentle pace, that even the quietest flow has purpose, and that you, like the plants, are part of a world shaped by soft, steady rhythms. 19. The slow pulse of plant electricity. If you place your hand gently on the bark of a tree or rest your fingertips against the surface of a leaf, you may feel only stillness, cool, textured, quiet. Yet beneath this calm exterior lies a world of movement so subtle it rarely reaches our awareness. Plants, though rooted and silent, carry within them a faint electrical pulse, a whisper of energy traveling from cell to cell like a soft wave crossing a still pond. This electrical life does not flash or spark like lightning. It does not hum like a machine. Instead, it flows in slow patterns, guiding growth, responding to touch, sensing light, and shaping the plant's experience of the world. Tonight, as the quiet deepens and you drift gently into calm, let us journey into this hidden realm, where currents move like sighs, and electricity becomes a language spoken without words. Every plant cell contains an electrical gradient. Across the thin membrane that separates the inside of the cell from the outside environment, ions move potassium, calcium, chloride, and others, creating tiny imbalances of charge. These imbalances form the electrical potential that allows the cell to function. In animals, such electrical shifts can trigger rapid impulses, like the firing of neurons. In plants, they unfold more slowly, guiding processes such as opening stomata, adjusting growth direction, and responding to stress. Though slower, these electrical signals are just as vital, forming an inner network of communication that pulses quietly throughout the plant's tissues. When a leaf is touched, brushed by wind, or grazed by an insect, electrical signals ripple through its cells almost instantly. These signals travel across the surface of the leaf, then down the stem, reaching distant parts of the plant. The plant does not move visibly in response, but its inner chemistry changes. Enzymes shift, hormones move, defenses begin to rise. In this way, electricity becomes an early warning system, allowing the plant to sense and respond long before the threat becomes severe. The message does not move with the speed of nerves, but it moves fast enough for a being whose life is measured in seasons rather than seconds. Some plants, however, show their electrical nature more dramatically. The sensitive plant, Mimosa pudica, folds its leaves when touched. The motion begins with an electrical impulse triggered at the point of contact. This impulse travels rapidly to specialized cells at the base of the leaflets, causing them to release internal pressure. With this sudden shift, the leaflets fold inward and the petiole droops. Though quick to our eyes, these motions are driven by the same slow electrical currents present in all plants, simply amplified into movement we can see. The Venus flytrap offers an even clearer example. Along the inner surface of its trap lie tiny trigger hairs. When an insect touches one of these hairs, an electrical signal is generated. If a second hair is touched within a short window of time, the signals combine and the trap snaps shut. This requirement for 2 touches is a kind of logic, an electrical decision, ensuring that the plant closes only when there is something truly worth capturing. The trap's swift closure is powered not by muscles, but by the abrupt release of stored tension in the leaf's structure, guided all the while by electrical signals pulsing with quiet precision. Even plants without dramatic motions use electricity to guide their lives. When a root tip encounters an obstacle underground, electrical changes spread through the root's cells, helping it decide whether to grow around the object, redirect its path, or slow its progress. Light triggers similar signals. When sunlight falls unevenly across a leaf or stem, the side receiving less light undergoes a shift in electrical potential. This shift creates a cascade of hormonal changes that cause the plant to bend toward the light. The movement is slow, a gentle arc that unfolds over hours, yet at its heart lies a delicate spark of electricity guiding the way. Electrical signals also help plants manage water. When drought approaches, when the soil dries and roots sense the first signs of thirst, electrical impulses travel upward through the xylem. These impulses help regulate the closing of stomata, conserving moisture before the stress becomes severe. They shape the flow of ions into and out of cells, helping the plant maintain balance. In this way, electricity becomes a quiet guardian, ensuring that water, nutrients, and energy move where they are needed most. Deep within the plant's tissues, calcium ions act like flickering lights. When a plant is touched, when temperatures shift, when night falls or morning comes, waves of calcium move through its cells, creating patterns that resemble the slow pulsing of an unseen heartbeat. These calcium waves are electrical signals in another form, a blend of chemistry and charge moving gracefully through the plant. Scientists have watched these waves travel across leaves like soft currents, carrying information from one part of the plant to another. Each wave is a message. Each message is part of a conversation within the plant's quiet life. Some plants use their electrical pulses to sense magnetic fields. Though the details remain mysterious, evidence suggests that certain species align their roots or leaves according to the Earth's magnetic lines. The electrical properties of their cells interact with the magnetic field in ways that may influence growth direction. This sensitivity allows them to navigate the underground world with more awareness than we ever imagined, using the Earth's own energy as a guide. Electrical pulses also form a kind of memory. When a plant is repeatedly touched, bent by wind, or exposed to stress, its electrical responses change. Over time, the plant becomes less sensitive or more cautious, depending on the nature of the experience. This adjustment is not conscious, but it is real. Cells alter their ion channels, becoming more or less responsive. In this way, plants learn from their environment, storing past experiences in the gentle fluctuations of their electrical patterns. Within entire plant communities, electrical signals may even spread from one plant to another. Through root systems connected by fungi, ions can travel between plants, carrying signals that reflect stress, drought, or damage. Much like the transmission of scent molecules through the air, these electrical messages bind communities into networks of shared awareness. A tree damaged by insects may send signals through its roots that help nearby trees prepare their defenses. The forest, in this sense, becomes a tapestry of shared electrical life, woven together by quiet currents flowing beneath the soil. If you imagine yourself shrinking down and drifting into the cells of a leaf, you might see electrical pulses shimmering like dim lights. You would feel ions moving across membranes, tiny sparks guiding the plant's responses. You would sense waves flowing through cell walls, carrying information as softly as ripples on still water. The entire interior of the plant would glow with potential quiet, slow, purposeful. These electrical pulses remind us that life does not need noise to be vibrant. Movement does not need speed to be powerful. Communication does not need words to be rich and meaningful. Plants speak through currents and ions, through waves and whispers, through the quiet pulse of electricity moving steadily through their bodies. As you drift towards sleep tonight, imagine your own thoughts slowing to the pace of these gentle currents. Let your mind settle like ions finding balance. Let the slow pulse of the plant world guide your breath, steady, soft, unhurried. Feel the calm in knowing that even the quietest beings carry within them a steady energy, a subtle aliveness that moves with grace. Like the soft electricity within plants, you are a being of calm currents, of quiet strength, of gentle rhythms. Let those rhythms carry you now into peaceful rest. 20. The timeless patience of ancient trees. Across the surface of the earth stand beings so old that the seasons themselves seem to pass like slow breaths through their branches. Their trunks rise with a depth of presence that calms the land around them. Their roots anchor not just into soil, but into history. These ancient trees, some thousands of years old, hold within their stillness a kind of wisdom we can only imagine. They have witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the shifting of climates, the passing of countless storms, and the quiet cycles of growth that shape forests over millennia. Tonight, as your thoughts soften and your breath settles into a gentle rhythm, let us wander gently into the world of these long-lived giants, where time stretches, slows, and settles into a serenity that soothes the spirit. An ancient tree does not rush. Its life unfolds in layers, in rings added one by one as each year passes. A single ring may be the width of a hair, yet within that thin line lies a memory of sun and rain, of wind and warmth, of drought or abundance. Over centuries, these rings accumulate, forming a wooden chronicle that reaches deep into the past. A bristlecone pine may carry stories from 5,000 years ago, when glaciers still lingered in high valleys and the night sky held stars that have since drifted away. A baobab tree in Africa may have seen centuries of migrating animals rest in its shade. A yew in a quiet churchyard may have watched countless generations come and go. These trees stand not as monuments, but as living beings, patient and unhurried. Their patience is their strength. In harsh landscapes, wind-swept mountains, arid deserts, rocky plains, ancient trees survive by growing slowly. Their wood becomes dense and resistant. Their roots reach deeply, twisting through stone and soil with steady persistence. Their branches remain compact, shaped by the challenges of their environment. This slow growth helps them endure. A bristlecone pine clinging to a barren slope grows so deliberately that its wood becomes almost stone-like, resisting decay for thousands of years. A giant sequoia, rooted in rich California soil, rises into the sky with enormous strength, its thick bark protecting it from fire and frost alike. Each species has its own strategy, its own rhythm, its own quiet way of living long beyond the span of ordinary time. Ancient trees also benefit from connection. Deep beneath the soil, their roots intertwine with networks of fungi, forming vast systems of communication and support. These fungal threads help trees share nutrients, water, and chemical signals. In this underground world, an old, well-rooted tree becomes a source of stability, supporting the younger trees around it during drought or stress. The forest becomes a community shaped by patience and cooperation, where age becomes a gift rather than a burden. In this way, ancient trees contribute not just to their own survival, but to the survival of entire ecosystems. Their canopies become worlds of their own. Mosses, lichens, ferns, and even miniature forests of seedlings can grow high in the branches of ancient giants. Birds and insects make homes in the crevices and hollows formed over centuries. Some trees become host to species found nowhere else, creating islands of biodiversity in their branches. These miniature ecosystems reflect the tree's enduring presence, its ability to support life not only at its roots, but in every part of its being. Though they live for centuries, ancient trees experience time differently from us. A decade for a human may feel like a chapter. For a tree, it is a word in a long, unfolding story. A century may be a sentence, shaping the overall arc. Their perception of change is slow, as though the tree breathes in seasons rather than seconds. Leaves emerge each spring in a rhythm that repeats, but never becomes repetitive, because each year brings its own subtle variation. Storms pass through. Some break branches, others leave the tree untouched. Animals move beneath the canopy, coming and going with the fluidity of time. The tree remains, steady through the world's fluctuations. Yet, their patience does not mean stillness. Ancient trees are alive with slow motion. Their roots grow continuously, exploring new pockets of soil, sensing gradients of moisture, nutrients, and microbial life. Their trunks expand subtly each year, adding thin layers of wood beneath the bark. There, branches reach outward or upward, adjusting to light and space with movements so gradual they seem still. Their leaves flutter gently in the breeze, absorbing sunlight that will one day become the next layer of wood. In these quiet motions, ancient trees express their long, steady presence in the world. Some ancient trees grow not as individuals but as clones of themselves. Aspen groves, for instance, may appear as clusters of separate trees, but beneath the soil they are connected by a shared root system. A single genetic individual can persist for tens of thousands of years, sending up new trunks as older ones die. These groves become living memories of landscapes long gone, carrying genetic identity across millennia. The notion of age becomes soft when applied to such beings. Where does the tree begin, and where does it end? Each trunk may live only a century, but the organism endures across ages. Ancient trees also witness the shifting of climates. Many have survived eras of deeper cold or greater warmth, adjusting gradually to new patterns of rainfall and temperature. Their survival reflects resilience shaped by time. They endure because they adapt quietly, without panic, adjusting their growth or chemistry to match the world around them. In their endurance, there is a lesson in calm, a reminder that life often flourishes through steady adaptation rather than urgency. Humans, too, have long felt drawn to ancient trees. Standing beside one, we sense something beyond ourselves. The air feels different, cooler, calmer, somehow fuller. These trees seem to hold a deep silence, a presence that invites reflection, grounding, and peace. Many cultures consider ancient trees sacred, not because they possess mystical powers, but because they remind us of continuity, patience, and the enduring rhythms of the natural world. When you place your hand upon the bark of a tree that has lived for 1,000 years, you touch a timeline far broader than your own. The tree does not judge. It simply is in its own time, in its own quiet, in its own enduring presence. As the night deepens, imagine standing before such a tree. Feel the roughness of the bark beneath your fingertips, the quiet strength held within its trunk, the soft murmur of leaves high above. Imagine the centuries it has witnessed, the storms it survived, the creatures it sheltered, the seasons it counted one ring at a time. Feel the stillness that radiates from it, the patience that lives in its roots. Now imagine yourself settling into that same calm. Your breath slows, your mind softens. You feel yourself grounded, rooted, steady. Like an ancient tree, you exist within a larger rhythm, one that unfolds gently, without hurry. Let this rhythm cradle your thoughts. Let it guide you toward rest. In the timeless patience of ancient trees, there is a peace so deep it can hold you softly through the night.